This guy is sprinting home, trying to escape the rain as fast as possible. But the moment he bursts inside the building, he freezes. Standing right in front of him is a strange girl. She looks off. Not just unusual, but completely out of place. She appeared so suddenly that he actually drops his keys on the floor. For a second, he's caught off guard, but then he quickly pulls himself together and brushes it off. Just another cosplayer, he thinks. So he picks up his keys and starts heading up the stairs like nothing happened. But then the girl suddenly jumps back as far away from him as she can, like she's terrified of him. Despite this, he shakes off his thoughts and continues up the stairs, convinced she's just a dedicated cosplayer. Before he can step into his room, the woman calls out to him from behind, telling him to hold up. Juing pauses, turns back, and casually mentions that this is where he lives. The girl looks a bit spooked and quickly steps back, keeping a cautious distance. Seeing her reaction, he starts feeling a tad embarrassed, wondering if he looks so rough that even a girl finds him a random street molester. Anyway, he heads into his room. He takes a quick peek outside before closing the door, only to find her still lingering outside. After shutting the door, he takes off his soaked slippers and shirt, and after taking a steamy bath, he grabs a can of cola and also picks up the bag of cat food, calling out to his kitty, Melon. Right on cue, the little furball shows up with a sparkle in her eyes and eagerly digs into her meal. Meanwhile, our hero starts chugging down that refreshing cola as well, relishing that fizzy madness with every gulp. He takes another glance outside and sees that the rain shows no signs of simmering down. After a moment, he decides to check through the peephole in his door, and surprisingly, the girl isn't there anymore. While opening the door cautiously, he wonders if she's left, but as soon as his gate is wide enough, she appears right before his doorsteps. Feeling a bit awkward, he offers her an umbrella or assistance getting home if it's not too far. However, the girl doesn't respond to either option and instead asks where they are. Shuching points out that they're in his neighborhood on Baywong Road. The girl goes silent for a moment, unsure of what to expect. Then she asks who our hero might be. Well, that's another simple question our hero doesn't have a clue how to answer. So with a bit of confusion, he lets her know that he's just some random guy. He then tries to offer her his umbrella, but she just stares at this ordinary umbrella like this is some alien thing. After a moment of silence, she introduces herself as part of the Yan clan and confesses she has no idea how she ended up here. Her admission leaves our hero scratching his head, wondering if she's just a girl caught up in some cosplay fantasy. He sighs out of exhaustion and motions for her to come inside while he tries to call for help. As he dials Guardo's number, the woman's eyes lock onto the TV. An ad starts playing, and without hesitation, she slices the TV with her blade. Her face goes white as if she's seen some kind of dark magic that needs immediate vanquishing. The boy stands there stunned while the guard asks about the weird noises in the background. The girl turns to him with her bloodshot eyes, giving him an intense glare. Once our clueless hero is not in the position to utter a single word, the guard abruptly hangs up, thinking maybe our hero is tied up with something urgent. Shuing scratches his head, looking puzzled, and asks her where she came from. Meanwhile, the lady wants to know if the people inside the weird glass thing are dead, and she's curious about the folks he was chatting with on his brick. Seeing her those straw sandals she is wearing, the boy wonders if this quirky lady could even afford to replace the fancy TV she just sliced. Finally, he raises his hand in a calming gesture, reassuring her that he's a decent guy and suggests she puts her sword down. After she retrieves her sword from the TV, the boy asks her name and where she's from. She promptly replies her name is Zhang Hai, and she's a disciple of the Yang clan. He compliments her for coming up with such a cool name and jokes if her Yang clan is loaded enough with cash to compensate him for his broken TV. The lady gets confused and asks how he doesn't know someone as prestigious as the Guyan clan. The boy simply shakes his head, admitting he's never heard of them. Her silence speaks volumes, as if she's offended by this guy who doesn't even recognize her clan. Seeing her tense expression, the boy reassures her again that he means well and gives her the green light to ask any questions she wants. The lady timidly admits she just wants to find her way back to the Yang clan. Our hero, still clueless about where this Yang clan might be, reminds her that they're in the city of Jiangcheng and asks if she knows it. The woman stays silent, and now our clueless hero is starting to rub his head in frustration because he really doesn't want to entertain the idea that she might actually be from ancient times. So he asks her, who is her emperor? But the puzzled lady insists that her emperor is one everyone should know about, which leaves our hero scratching his head at her cryptic response. She stares at him in confusion, wondering why he doesn't know about the emperor. She then asks our hero if it's the 16th year of Kaiwan. Her answer shocks him, prompting him to pause and immediately start scrolling through his phone for information. He's amazed to find out that in the 16th year of Kaiwan, it was during the reign of the 7th emperor of the Tang dynasty, known for the longest reign in the dynasty's history. To confirm if she's truly from the past, he asks if she knows Liangji and mentions other famous figures from that era. The lady lights up with joy to realize he knows these names and eagerly asks where she can find them. With an anxious smirk, Shuqing jokingly tells her she might find them in a Chinese mobile game. Suddenly, a delivery man calls from the doorstep, and the lady instantly grabs her sword to confront the intruder. The boy rushes over, urging her to calm down because it's just someone delivering food, not a threat. Lady Zhang asks if the man is a servant, but our hero explains, this man is just here with a food delivery. As he accepts the food, the lady watches in confusion and amazement at this whole process of this takeout. The boy then asks if she's hungry and wants to eat something, but the girl nervously declines. Standing by the door, she asks him why everyone she's seen here has short hair, wondering if they're all exiles. Our hero reassures her that's not the case, but then he starts losing his and fears she might have already slaughtered someone when she first arrived here and saw those people. She quickly assures him she was just hiding in the dark. After that reassurance, he gladly proceeds to take a bite of his burger. But then the girl creeps over his face once again, asking about the short hair once more. With a mouthful, he explains it's just a local style, nothing special. Her eyes fixate on the juicy wrap filled with meat and veggies. She can hardly resist the temptation, but she snaps herself out of it and declines eating again. He suggests she quench her thirst with the soda if she does not want to eat anything, telling her it's super sweet and probably unlike anything she's ever had before. Lady John gets angry, feeling insulted by his comment, and accuses him of looking down on her. Our hero quickly clarifies that he was just trying to offer her something to eat. As their argument heats up, they start bickering like an old married couple. In the midst of their squabble, our hero accidentally knocks over his can of Coke, spilling it all over the place. The fizzy drink starts bubbling on the floor. Seeing the strange liquid spread, the girl stares at him in disbelief, thinking he was trying to force her to consume this weird, black, and disgusting substance. The poor guy sweats nervously, insisting that it's not poisonous and attempting to explain the concept of a carbonated drink. But these modern concepts make no sense to the girl from ancient times. In a fit of rage, she pins our hero down and glares at him with fiery eyes before she can slice his head off. Shortly after, she calms down a bit when he proves the drink isn't poisoned by chugging himself. The girl finally gets it, and our hero tells her to stop drawing her sword every time, mentioning how she freaked out his cat, Melon. He then looks at her and realizes there are only 3 options to get rid of her. Option 1, trick her into going outside and let her freeze or starve, but he knows she'd end up on the news. Option 2, call the cops, but she might go berserk and make a mess for him by killing those officers, and just thinking about it gives him the creeps. The third option is to keep an eye on her. Since she's from ancient times, he might learn some neat stuff from her, but he's also worried she might chop him in half if she keeps brandishing her sword. Instead of regretting it later, he decides to take her in and see how things go. With that settled, he offers her the burger. Although she's clearly tempted by the tantalizing food before her, she stubbornly looks away and asks him what exactly this thing is that he's holding. Deciding to prove it's not poisonous, he takes the first bite and she agrees, eagerly telling him to go ahead. As he eats, the lady watches him closely, and the boy realizes this amount of food might not be enough for her. So he decides to make a rice bowl instead, thinking her ancient stomach might not handle the burger well. It seems he was just making excuses to eat the burger himself. Seeing him finish it off completely annoys the lady to no end. He gestures for her to sit down, but she cautiously checks the seat by pressing her hand against it before sitting down cautiously. Let's face it, she can't trust this strange guy completely, even though he did offer her his umbrella. His room is filled with oddities, and he eats weird stuff too. So she decides to remain vigilant and careful. She asks about this place again, and our hero reminds her it's Yongcheng City. The lady then asks if he knows how she can return home. This time, our hero panics when he sees her reaching for her sword again and insists she puts it down before he answers. Once the sword is out of sight, he somberly reveals to her that she might not be able to return because they are really far from her home. The girl perks up at this and immediately asks how far away they are. Our hero reluctantly tells her it's almost 1,200 years away. The girl asks what he means by 1200 years. So he explains that it's been that long since she came from her time. Famous folks like Li, Yang Yu Huan, and Lu Shan, all ancient history now, dead and gone for over 1,000 years. She's totally shocked by this news and straight up calls him a liar. But the boy tells her to just look around. Nothing's the same. This world runs on its own rules now. It could be cool if you get the hang of it, but also risky. She's still not buying it and raises her sword to his face. He calmly reminds her that waving swords around is against the law, and she better learn the rules fast. The woman asks why he's bothering to help her out. The boy explains it's kind of like how he rescued his fat cat, Melon, from the tough outside world. He just felt like he had to help. But our hero needs to pick his words better because she gets ticked off again, thinking he's comparing her to a cat. After a bit of thinking, she figures he's not such a bad guy since he let her in and offered food. So she asks him again why he bothered helping her. Our hero says meeting a quirky ancient girl like her isn't something he encounters every day, and he's genuinely curious about her. He adds that she'd probably be curious too if their roles were reversed. The lady quickly shuts that down, saying if someone as weird as our hero showed up in her era, the chief would have chopped him down right away. The guy reminds her that this era is all about peace and love. He tells her that as long as she's living here, she better learn to follow the law, never hurt people, and not destroy anyone's belongings. With that clear, he lets her choose whether she wants his help or prefers to wander outside. Before turning away, he reminds her one last time not to hurt civilians or she'll get arrested. The lady finds herself in a tight spot, not knowing what to do since she can't even leave this place. The boy then says if she wants to stay, he can order her some food, but she has to give up her sword because he doesn't want to get arrested either. With no other options, she reluctantly throws her sword down. With that settled, he starts brainstorming what to order for her that won't be too foreign for her. He briefly considers ordering some mooncakes, but then decides to get her some rice and buns instead. He tells her to take a shower while they wait for her food to arrive. The woman, clueless, asks where she's supposed to bathe. Our hero leads her into the bathroom, which leaves her amazed at the sight. He tells her not to be too surprised because there are many more surprises to come and reassures her not to be afraid as everything here is harmless. For instance, he shows her the shower and she looks at it curiously like a puppy. She tries it out herself and our hero can't resist capturing her curiosity on his phone. He then introduces her to bath shampoo and the concept of toilet. Afterwards, he waits outside while she showers. He rummages through his stuff, trying to find something suitable for her to wear. Inadvertently, he opens the bath door while attempting to knock, realizing she doesn't even know how to lock it. Nevertheless, he informs her he doesn't have any women's clothes, so she'll have to wait for proper clothing. He decides to teach her how to lock the door in the meantime. Shortly after, he is kicked outside, but the lady is now enjoying her first shower in this new world. She even tries tasting the shampoo bubbles, but ends up spitting it away. Meanwhile, our hero is questioning if all of this is actually real. He picks up her sword and closely examines the gleaming blade, deciding to have an expert check if it's authentic or not. The girl emerges from her bath in her new outfit, and while our hero is busy with something else, she asks what he's writing. He doesn't respond immediately, but eventually hands her the paper. It lists out current issues that need addressing, and she starts staring at it intently. There are everyday products written down which she is supposed to utilize in her daily life. She then complains about her current clothes, to which the boy says she looks pretty, and clarifies that he's not hitting on her. He's just giving a compliment like people usually do when someone looks good. But still, she sternly tells him to lay off any flirtatious remarks. Suddenly, he notices her straw slippers and tells her to put them away, promising to get her new ones tomorrow. While he's admiring her cuteness, a sudden knock on the door scares the lady, but Shuching reassures her it's just a delivery boy with food. Reflecting on it, he can't help but compare her to a wild cat, always attentive and ready to attack. After taking the food out of the plastic bag, he hands it to her. That is when Lady Zhang remembers something her vice captain used to say, that if someone is helping you for free, they must have ulterior motives. Hearing this, Shuching starts crying, but then she smiles and tells him that she believes he's actually a good person. In a few moments, once she finishes her food, Shuching decides to have a chat with the girl. He starts by letting her know that she's not in the primitive era anymore and needs to adjust her beliefs accordingly. He tells her that if she were to rely on her sword for survival and ends up killing him, she wouldn't last more than a week before running out of food. So he advises her to stop playing around with the sword and focus on other things like using the TV for entertainment. He also points out that the smartphone can be quite useful too. Basically, he's trying to reassure her that she's perfectly safe here and no one is going to harm her. Hearing this, the girl nods in acknowledgement, and our hero lets out a sigh of relief. But when it comes to the outside world, things get complicated. He explains that while this is a peaceful world, it could be dangerous for her. Curious, Lady Zhang asks why that is, and our hero explains that she might end up accidentally hurting someone. For instance, if she strolled into a royal castle with her sword drawn, they'd likely throw her in jail. It's the same deal out there in this world as well. Not only that, he also explains the concept of an identity card to her, warning that she needs to watch out for cops who might ask to see it. So the first thing Shoqing wants to do is make her an ID card. Otherwise, she's going to stick out like a sore thumb wherever she goes, because she doesn't belong here. After hearing about the ID card, the lady asks if she's like some kind of refugee here. Shuing tells her it's actually worse because the consequences are pretty serious if she gets caught. The lady gets freaked out, but Zhu Qing tries to calm her down, promising to help her out because meeting someone from 1200 years ago isn't exactly an everyday thing. Still, the lady remains hesitant, not sure if she can trust him and just wanting to go back home, to which the boy points out that it won't be easy for him to help her in her current situation, and their best shot is for her to cooperate as much as possible. After a while, the lady reluctantly agrees to cooperate and asks what she should do first. Shuing wastes no time and tells her straight up, first off, never pull out that sword again. As they settle into a moment of quiet, the girl suddenly looks around and asks Shu Qing where his wife is because she wants someone to gossip with. But the poor guy, as much as he hates to admit it, says, I'm actually unmarried. It's quite a surprise for the lady, and a sudden silence fills the room. Shu Qing quickly reassures her that it's normal not to be married at his age and tells her to make herself comfortable in the spare room he has for her. She nods quietly and follows him as he shows her the new room she'll be staying in. Inside the room, there's a lot of stuff, but Shu Qing quickly tidies everything up, making enough space for one person snugly. It's clear the lady isn't exactly thrilled about staying in this place, especially with a weirdo like him. However, Shuing grabs some spare blankets and neatly arranges them on her new bed, urging her to rest. He understands she must be feeling confused, and he hopes that when they wake up tomorrow, it'll all feel like they were in a dream. He proceeds to leave the room, and before he does, he introduces himself as Shuing, wishes her good night, and leaves her alone in her room. The lady first places her sword back and then sits on her cozy bed. Once midnight strikes, Shuing finds himself awake, feeling a bit restless while reflecting on the entire hectic day. First off, he got rejected in job interviews, and when he came back, it started raining. Somehow he managed to reach home and then ended up meeting a girl who draws her sword every time she feels like it. But then he says, scratch this, and goes to sleep because there's a lot of stuff to handle tomorrow. When the next day rolls around, he opens his eyes and picks up his phone to find that it's already 10 o'clock. He jolts awake in his bed, remembering the nut job lady. He immediately starts looking around, and when he sees her sitting there, he finally realizes that he wasn't dreaming after all. He gathers himself and wishes her a good morning, asking why she woke up so early, only for her to remind him it's almost noon. He then asks if she's hungry, to which she responds affirmatively, albeit a little. She, the stars, looking for something in her chest, and hurriedly goes back to her room, returning with 2 silver pieces, telling him he can buy food with them. Shu Qing is amazed to see the silver in his hands, though he knows silver doesn't fetch much. However, he thinks if she has any gold, he could use that to get cash and possibly help her obtain an ID card. The girl shows another piece of stone, but Shu Qing quickly tells her to keep it because she can't go outside yet. He looks at her closely, estimating her height and width, and promises to buy her some clothes later, along with bringing back some food. Afterwards, he heads to the bathroom, brushes his teeth, and freshens up. Then he heads to the shopping center to pick out some suitable clothes for her. After looking at several options, his eyes settle on a particular dress and tells the attendant that he'll take that one as well. It seems like he spotted some bras in the distance, but couldn't bring himself to enter that section alone. After an hour of shopping, he finally finishes and looks at the stuff he bought, feeling embarrassed about holding women's cosmetics. He then heads to the bookstore, grabs some books, and makes his way back to his apartment through the bustling city. Upon reaching the building entrance, the guard asks him about his shopping trip, and our guy tries to hide all the feminine stuff he's carrying. The guard also asks about the phone call from yesterday, and he makes up an excuse, saying he dialed the wrong number accidentally. Before he heads off, the guard warns him to be cautious due to recent thefts in the area. He nods and assures the guard he'll remember. Once he's back in his apartment, he finds the lady standing there with her sword almost drawn, ready to chop off any intruders. The boy assures her she's safe and hands over the food box, mentioning he's also brought some essentials. Suddenly, something clicks in his mind. He looks at her with curiosity, and she asks what's on his mind. He awkwardly wonders aloud if she should be thanking him and seeing him as some kind of young hero or a decent guy or something like that. The lady, not quite getting where he's coming from, thanks him anyway. It seems like it might take a while for her to figure out what this weirdo is always thinking. They dig into the food and the lady devour her meal like a wild animal, which surprises our hero given the elegant image he had of women from her era. Nonetheless, he's pleased to see her enjoying herself. After they finish eating, he lays out the clothes he bought, showing her the new dresses and shoes. He keeps digging around for more stuff, and meanwhile, the girl spots the bra he got for her. The guy freaks out like his soul might jump out of his virgin body and quickly tells her to keep that thing down and promises to send her a video on how to use the bra to cover up her headlights. Feeling embarrassed, he dumps all the stuff he bought and tells her to figure it out herself. Seems like he's picked up quite a few interesting items, though. Along with that, he's brought some books to help her understand this world and its culture better. He's even planning to teach her how to use a computer so she can learn on her own. Seeing her looking tired and restless, he suggests she get plenty of sleep before they can figure out their next move. But then she asks about his status in this world. Hearing this, he rethinks things and admits he's a graduate student still on the job hunt. It's funny how, despite being unemployed, he still manages to splash out on fancy clothes and cosmetics. So even the lady starts to think he's some rich kid, but our hero quickly shuts that down, saying he's from a poor background. Then she starts wondering if he might be a landlord or something. Nonetheless, she dives into her books. But when she sees those old pictures from her era, tears well up in her eyes as she thinks about how she can get back home. The boy reminds her he has no clue how to get her there, but asks her how she ended up here. The lady reveals she was chasing a small thief in heavy rain, got lost in the middle of the forest, and wandered around until she spotted these tall houses. Seems like this guy is clueless about how to get her home, but he cleverly changes the subject, telling her she's got to survive in this world before going back. Then, without skipping a beat, he asks about her military ranking and martial arts skills. You see, the reason this guy was asking in the first place was because he was interested in her martial arts skills to begin with, and the lady gives him an exact answer he likes, saying her Yan clan is considered the most powerful clan around. Excitedly, he asks how high she can jump without getting hurt. The lady confidently steps forward, pointing to the 4th floor of the building, saying she can jump from there without a scratch. This revelation leaves the guy's eyes practically popping out of their sockets. He then gets even more excited, eager to see all the fancy moves she's got under her belt. He starts spouting off a bunch of martial arts skill names he's probably picked up from video games, but it's all gibberish to her. He even asks if she knows Kung Fu and offers to learn from her eagerly. But the lady tells this enthusiastic guy to simmer down because he's past the age for learning, and even with perseverance and determination, he won't achieve much. The boy calms down and asks if these moves are like super strict or something. Lady Zhang shakes her head, saying, "It's not about being a master, just a few basic moves without all the strict rules." She then gets into position and shows him the first simple martial arts move, focusing on the waist and how to ground yourself. She explains that martial arts training takes time, building up bit by bit, day by day. He then asks if he can practice stakes and literally begs for it. She reminds him that it will take 3 years for him to learn stakes. The guy thinks that in that amount of time he could become a full-fledged army soldier, so he gives up on martial arts and asks her to teach him sword techniques instead. The lady brings him back to reality once again, saying he's also past the time to perfect his reflexes because his eyes can't keep up with his hands right now. Finally, he throws his idea of becoming a warrior into the dustbin and simply tells her to try on the clothes. Once she's in the bathroom, he wastes no time taking advantage of the moment. He grabs her sword and starts swinging it like he's the second coming of the ninja itself. But this loser can't keep up because the sword is way too heavy for his puny muscles. The lady finally comes out of the bathroom, and when the idiot looks at her, she's looking smoking hot in her new getup. Her clothes fit like they were made for her, and she even walks around to check if they're tight anywhere. That's when Mr. Forgetful perks up. Noticing her hair is all over the place and realizing he forgot to buy her a hairband, he tells her to tie her hair back with a band. And once she does, bam, she looks even hotter. A perfect wife material. Overcome with emotion, he starts crying, feeling bad for underestimating her intelligence just because she's from ancient times. He decides to take her for a walk tonight and promises to buy her a proper hair tie while back at home. As dusk arrives, the girl takes a peek outside her room and sees the boy sitting at the desk. She comes out and asks what he's doing. He tries to explain computers to her, like how you can trash talk everyone in the crazy lobbies of Call of Duty, and warns her to steer clear of 4chan if she wants to keep her sanity intact. The boy then asks if she's having fun reading books. She admits that most things are flying right over her head, but she's slowly learning. The dude tells her to take it easy, reassuring her there's no rush, and reminds her she's already brave and smart. He jokes that if he were in her shoes, he'd probably be a lost cause. Lady Zhang looks at our hero warmly, cheeks turning tomato red. While he's chilling at his desk, the lady sneaks up behind him again and asks if he doesn't have to work. He shrugs, saying he's already hustling to make money in this world. But when she imagines someone making money, she doesn't picture a schlub staring at a giant screen. Our hero explains he's trying to make some quick cash online. Since she wouldn't get all the tech stuff, he suggests she start with the basics. His mind is struck with a bright idea as to how to make her familiar with some basic stuff. He asks her how strong her chief's martial arts skills are, and she replies, pretty darn strong. So the dude plays a video on his computer and asks if these guys on screen are powerful enough. The lady's eyes light up as she watches the intense fight scenes on his screen. He looks at her with the same enthusiasm and asks for her thoughts. With a timid voice, she admits these moves are something she has not seen in her life before, and just imagining fighting these characters makes her nervous enough to pray. He then pulls up another ridiculous video where a guy smashes through an entire wall with just the palm of his hand. When she sees this, she's absolutely terrified out of her mind, trembling as our idiotic hero eagerly asks what she thinks of the video. With a pale face and a voice tinged with fear, she asks if everyone here possesses that kind of magnificent power. Quick to correct her, he reassures her it's all fictional and none of it is real. This just makes the lady angrier, demanding to know if he's telling the truth. The dude confirms, saying once again that the kung fu she just saw was all bullcrap. He then explains to her that in this world, people create things based on their imaginations. For example, the martial arts he showed her is what people here believe it to be, even though everything is blown out of proportion. Looks like Lady Zhang is starting to grasp all these concepts. He reassures her that with time, she'll totally understand about arts and movies. Shuing then finally asks his original question if her chief's kung fu is better than what she has seen so far. Well, she reluctantly admits it's not. He then asks about flying techniques. She confirms they exist, but most folks specialize in just one. She points out how unrealistic those movie stunts are because physical strength only goes so far. The boy thinks for a moment, pulls up another video, and asks if she can do that move. She mulls it over for a moment, stands up from her seat, and starts swinging her hands super fast, moving like a blur. Shu Qing is totally thrilled to see her nail the technique and excitedly tells her she's got it. She tells him to hit her up anytime he wants to learn it, promising to teach him. With those words, she heads out, leaving my guy doing a little happy dance, probably dreaming of becoming a warrior someday. As she walks to her room, she notices a fat cat in her way, but she ignores the little furball and simply shuts the door in the poor cat's face. Once inside her room, she lets out a sigh in fear, realizing there's actually no one in this world without ulterior motives after all. And the reason our hero is helping her is to learn some martial arts. This new world is really scaring her. All these weird things do not make any sense. But then she glances up at the wide ceiling, grabs her sword, and starts practicing. The noise from her room makes our hero curious if she's not going to take a nap. Feeling tired, he also drops down on his bed, finding it unbelievable that there's a woman right next to his room. The thought makes him really happy though, and he falls asleep with those sweet thoughts lingering in his mind. Suddenly, he is jolted awake by heavy voices. He looks outside to see dusk arriving, checks his phone, and realizes he spent the entire day sleeping. He immediately gets up and decides to take Lady Zhang with him to show her the real world outside. As she puts on her shoes, he advises her on the dos and don'ts in public areas, insisting she not do anything without his permission. After laying out all the rules, he asks if she understands everything, to which she meekly replies, yes. He also doesn't forget to take a photo of her before they head out. However, in the photo, her pretty face looks more like a molester who is looking forward to grabbing some peachy ass in the streets. The boy asks her to give him a smile, but her forced grin is even worse than her usual expression, and he nearly faints seeing it. He abandons the picture idea and decides they should just get going. But before they head out, he tells her to leave her sword behind because he doesn't want any trouble. Lady Zhang immediately refuses, but the boy reassures her that the people on the streets are as weak as he is, so she doesn't need to worry about anyone. The lady reluctantly gives up her sword. While she's standing there, he tries to snap another picture of her. This time, he manages to get a really good shot and cheerfully says, "Let's get going." Once they step out of the apartment building, the girl starts looking around anxiously. Our hero explains that this is a neighborhood where families live. He points out the main entrance and the road outside and mentions the stores on both sides where people can buy food, clothes, or whatever they need. Lady Zhang gets intimidated seeing a guy on a scooter, probably thinking it's some kind of magical ride. As they walk on, they notice some people. A fat woman immediately recognizes Lady Zhang for some reason. The girl hides behind the guy while the woman insists she's seen her before. Meanwhile, a guard asks if our hero has snagged a girlfriend for himself, but the boy just laughs it off and says she's just a friend. But it seems this fat lady isn't letting up. She immediately recognizes Lady Zhang as the sword-wielding woman from yesterday. The guard and the woman start discussing the sword she had, and the fat lady explains everything in detail. Our hero quickly jumps in, yelling that it was just cosplay where people pretend to be fictional or historical characters. Luckily, the fat lady buys the cosplay story, and our hero seizes the chance, grabbing Zhang's hand and walking away swiftly. Seeing them walking side by side reminds the old man of his own past. Once they're out of sight, Lady Zhang pulls her hand away and starts feeling grumpy. He asks if that woman saw her yesterday. The girl remains silent to this query, and the boy is now sure Zhang must have met that woman on the stairs. Nevertheless, they continue their journey together. The lady is quite shocked to see cars moving so fast. The boy then gives a brief description of cars and how they evolved from horse carriages to these robust, speedy machines. Since she can't understand how these things work, she assumes there must be a horse stuck inside, providing the much-needed horsepower to run the car. The boy then introduces her to the concept of cameras and explains how the movies they watched were filmed with these devices. He points out that if he were to misbehave with her here, people from far away would still be watching from that CCTV and could get them arrested. So he reassures her that as long as she behaves herself, she isn't their target. Lady Zhang picks up a few pebbles from the ground, and our hero quickly tells her not to even think about knocking out any cameras. She stops immediately, and he tells her to just put the stones away. He then explains traffic lights and how they work, pointing out that red means stop and green means you can cross the road. I'm narrating this because I want my friends and fellow viewers to learn too. Once they cross the road, Zhang's attention is caught by the bright street lights in the grocery stores. The high-speed cars are fascinating to her as well. As they walk, the boy picks out a hair ribbon for the lady, but when he imagines her with those cute fur balls on her head, he realizes it might not be suitable for her after all. He starts thinking while looking at all the cute, sparkly things laid out before them. Lady Zhang perks up at the sight, and when our hero asks if she likes a particular ribbon, she immediately says yes. Once she has the ribbon in her hands, she starts stretching it vigorously, but then she uses it correctly and puts it on her head, looking all cute and beautiful once again. Even our hero can't help but admire her beauty. As the sun sets and the city lights up, our duo heads into a restaurant. Our hero orders 2 fried rice cakes with extra spices and a plate of sliced cucumber as a side dish. As they look for a place to sit, the boy reveals to Zhang that this is the same place where all their food comes from. He relies on this restaurant because they serve the best food, and he's been enjoying it since he was a kid. Suddenly, Zhang's mind is totally captivated by the vibrant lights dancing before her eyes. She's so lost in the moment that she finds herself startled when the waiter arrives with their food. The boy decides to start eating and offers her a pair of chopsticks. She looks really nervous, and while he chugs down his lemon juice, he realizes he probably made the right choice by not letting her wander off by herself. She clearly needs more guidance than he thought, but he's confident he can teach her everything step by step. After they finish eating and pay the bill, they leave the restaurant feeling satisfied, especially our hero. They head back home, and once they're there, he asks if she's starting to feel more comfortable. She doesn't respond and just sits quietly on the couch. He tries to reassure her, saying that living in this world isn't so bad, especially with all the delicious food and junk food to match on. He tells her that once she has her own ID card, she'll be able to enjoy it even more. Despite his reassurances, she still doesn't seem too thrilled about staying, and quietly says she wants to go home. But then again, he reminds her that she can't go back home since it's already been 1,200 years. It looks like she has to accept reality. She asks how they're going to solve the identity problem. The dude explains he's no government guy to handle this stuff, but there's always a way, and reassure her that he'll help her. The girl gets flustered and feels grateful for his kind gesture. This time, she thanks him properly by calling him a young warrior. The boy responds with the same brotherly energy, emphasizing that identity is crucial in this world, and without it, it's difficult to navigate. He then asks her where the list he gave her yesterday is. The girl points to the dustbin. The boy is disappointed by her action and tells her to retrieve it right away. Once she gets the paper out of the bin, the lady asks what they'll do if the ID card issue isn't resolved. Our hero points out that she'll be a criminal and there's nothing he can do. Without an ID, she can't get a job, buy property, or even use public transport, and emphasizes that an ID card is the holy grail in this world. The lady gets a bright idea and asks if by making money and finding a place to live, the ID would become less important. The boy explains there are still many things she can't do without an ID, like having a bank account, a phone, online accounts, online shopping. The list goes on. He then opens his laptop, searches for unregistered resident certificate, while also telling the lady to approach the authorities directly for help with her ID card. He reassures her that the worst-case scenario is they might confiscate her, but he's sure they'll treat her nicely. Lady Zhang immediately reaches for her sword, asking if he's thinking about turning her into the authorities. The boy tells her to forget it and just focus on studying first. He suggests she look at history or something, and once she has a basic knowledge of modern society, she can decide for herself. The woman gets silent and seems visibly anxious and sad. She asks if it's a problem for him if she stays here. Our hero reassures her that she can crash here as long as she wants, but insists she shouldn't fight or kill with her sword. He promises everything will be fine. Just then the cat comes over, and the boy realizes he nearly forgot to feed this furball in all the madness. He plays around a bit with the cat and tells Lady Zhang that if she has nothing else to do, she can do some studying. The girl bows her head and decides to do just that. Looks like the dude found nothing worthwhile on the internet. So he checks his phone and decides to call someone he knows. He's about to call his best friend Shin Hao, who is now a good police officer, though he's not sure if his internship period is passed, and Shin Hao is now a full-blown officer. While texting Shin Hao, he wonders if he should mention that he's met a girl from 1,200 years ago, but he decides against it and sets up a meeting with his friend without revealing anything about their meeting. Feeling happy, the boy decides to take a shower to freshen up. After the steamy bath, he feels really satisfied. It then occurs to him that the girl hasn't showered yet, but he decides not to dwell on it. Suddenly, he remembers he's sharing space with someone of the opposite gender, and he knows he'd be in hot water if she caught him wandering around naked. Thankfully, no one sees him, and he hurries into his room. A while later, Lady Zhang cautiously emerges from her room, darts to the bathroom with clothes in hand, and immediately shuts the door for a much-needed bath, just like she used to do in ancient times regularly. Since it's the weekend, the boy grabs a digital writing pad and starts teaching her how to write. She's already good at reading traditional Chinese characters and nailing their pronunciation, so now she tries her hand at writing a few words. Suddenly, Melon pops up, grabbing both their attention. The cat looks hungry, so the boy decides to feed her, while Lady Zhang keeps practicing her writing. Watching him dish out cat food, Lady Zhang gets curious and asks what it actually is, to which Shuing explains it's food made just for cats to eat. Lady Zhang quickly imagines how they might produce such cat food, picturing pouches hanging from tall trees in her mind. Suddenly, there's a knock on the door, and the boy rushes to receive the food delivery. He hands it to the lady, telling her it's her dinner for tonight as he's going to meet his friend later to ask about her identity card. The girl immediately starts digging into the food, and our hero assures her he'll teach her how to use a phone and computer so they can stay in touch. While she eats, Little Melon chimes in, asking for some food, but the dude scoops up his cat and reminds her to stick to her own cat food. Curious, the lady meekly asks if she can't give this cat some of her food, to which the boy nods and explains that this kind of food isn't healthy for cats. The lady is shocked to hear this, and her mind stops for a moment. If this food isn't healthy for an animal, how can it be good for humans? She even starts feeling like her burger doesn't smell good anymore. Shortly after, he shows Lady Zhang how to use Discord to message him on his phone, making it clear that it will not be him hiding inside the computer, but rather it will be the transmission waves who will carry his voice to her. Leaving his dormitory, he scratches his head, wondering if this is all okay. Eventually, he reaches his destination after a bus ride. Stepping off, he looks around and spots his friends sitting in the distance, waving at him. When they finally meet face to face, they exchange greetings. Officer Chin then pours a cold beer for our hero, mentioning it's the first time he's serving him a cup of beer. They both sit down, and our hero asks his friend how he can drink as a police officer. Chin Hao explains that he's off duty and dressed casually, just here as an ordinary person. The boy then places his order, carefully, noting all the delicious items he's about to enjoy. They clink glasses and toast each other. Shuing asks his friend how his job is going and what it's like being an outstanding officer. Chin Hao bluntly describes it as terrible, and all the talk about heroes saving the day is nonsense. He shares how he's often pulled into trivial disputes between couples and ends up resolving conflicts with old ladies in the neighborhood. He hardly ever encounters thieves. Instead, he deals with daily disputes and nonsense. But our hero, Shu Qing, points out the brighter side, mentioning how people are generally living and working happily, which is a good thing. As much as Chin Hao hates his job now, he always dreamed of becoming a police officer when he was a kid. However, he stopped growing after hitting 1.6 m. Knowing that the minimum height requirement was 1.7 m, he cried a lot in our hero's arms. Fortunately, when the height requirement was replaced by the high jump, he was excited to start practicing every day, eventually achieving his dream. But after dealing with just trivial disputes, the officer is so worn out that he jokes he'd even fight a woman with a sword if he has to, just to make a big show. Our hero immediately tells him not to joke about such things. Suddenly, the boy changes the subject and casually asks about what happens if a homeless person who has lost their memory wants to get an ID card and work without any proof of citizenship, to which the officer bluntly states that getting an ID card isn't easy, and someone fitting that description is likely a shady person. With the energy of an officer, he asks our hero for the person's name and address he is speaking about. The boy tries to spin a tale about how his mother's brother had a son whose friend is in a similar situation. The officer cuts him off, telling him to stop the nonsense and reminding him that without proof of identity, like a blood test or something similar, they can't get an ID card. The boy presses further, asking if the person he encountered was unidentified and strange, like a homeless guy. The officer points out that if their behavior is suspicious, they must be investigated. Seeing his friend's suspicious gaze, the boy quickly tells him to stop looking at him as if he's harboring a fugitive. He insists he's not here to discuss how to cover up anyone's identity. His friend agrees, reassuring him that he trusts him. He suggests asking for basic information from the stranger. They could also use a person's directory or DNA information to verify details. His friend suddenly grows irritated, telling our hero to drop the conversation and starts downing his beer. The boy jokes that he only came here because he needed something to talk about, otherwise they would not have met. Then he playfully tells his friend to forget everything and jokingly extends his hands, telling him to handcuff himself because he wants to experience what it's like to be interrogated and cuffed. After their banter, our hero brings up the ID card subject again, but the officer's answer remains the same. He gives an example that if it were so easy to get a new ID, criminals would be stabbing people daily and running off with new identities to start fresh. They continue their back and forth, and after drinking a lot of beer, the officer finds himself knocked out cold. Our hero tries to wake him up, reminding him of his duty to resolve disputes between old ladies. But the officer just wants more beer. So our hero tells the waiter not to bring any more. The boy pays the bill while his friend still wants more booze. Our hero then learns there's a 50% discount if you spend 100 yen. So he decides to get a lot of fish for Lady Zhang. After saying goodbye to his hiccuping friend, he grabs his takeout and heads back home. Though he is a bit let down that he got no lead, but he is not sweating it. Once he's back home, he finds the girl fast asleep, and he can't help but admire her beauty. His heart and brain seem to short-circuit as he gazes at her, unsure of the feelings stirring inside him. The girl wakes up abruptly, feeling a bit startled to see him back. He shows her the food he brought, and she quietly says thanks. Not satisfied with just a simple thank you, the boy playfully insists she say it loud and clear. Blushing, the girl says, "Thank you, young warrior," which prompts an exaggerated reaction from the boy, claiming it was an easy task and a small contribution. As he unpacks the food, the girl asks if he drank a lot. He says no and shows her a yogurt pack, telling her to lick it before drinking. He starts rubbing his tongue against the sweet and sour yogurt, and she follows suit, surprisingly enjoying it and diving right in. The boy tells her to eat up and not let the food get cold. As he heads into the bathroom to take a bath, he can't help but smile, feeling the warmth of coming back home and seeing someone waiting for him. After his bath, when he's back outside, the girl immediately notices him. He asks if she checked her clothes, which confuses her at first. Then she remembers the bra he brought for her and feels super embarrassed just thinking about it. Apparently trying to figure it out with YouTube tutorials didn't go so well. Later, she heads to the bathroom to change. She's nervous about trying on the fancy dress since she's used to plain outfits that match her mood. She wonders what kind of prickly princess she'll look like in this new dress. She lays out the bra and dress on the bed, takes a bath, and dries her hair with a blow dryer. She's really grateful for the kind young man helping her adjust to everything, but she knows relying on him isn't a long-term solution, and she can only get so far with her limited knowledge. The sunshine of the next day leaks through the window, and the girl comes out of her room while rubbing her tired, sleep-deprived eyes. It looks like our hero woke up early this time. Lady Jong asks him if he's working early in the morning, to which he replies that he's just watching some news. The girl immediately exudes a gloomy aura, asking if he is a government official. The boy reassures her that he's not, reminding her that if he were, she would already have her much-desired ID card. He then asks if she's hungry and offers to buy breakfast, asking if she'd like to come along. The girl declines and heads to the bathroom, so the boy decides to go by himself, telling her she can Netflix and chill in the meantime. Humming a tune, the boy strolls outside. The old guard calls him over, and the boy reluctantly approaches, noticing two more people present. One of the ladies asks if he's heard any creepy, weird noises lately. And the way she is looking at our hero, it's clear she suspects him of being the source of these sounds. It seems like the boy is completely clueless about what the lady is talking about, and he tells them that he didn't hear anything and slept soundly last night. He wonders if there was a theft, but the old man suggests that they might be haunted because his dog was terrified by something the other night, so much so that it didn't even bark. When the boy asks the old guard if he noticed anything else, the old man takes a puff of his cigarette, exhales the smoke, and confesses that he didn't see anything, but he caught something on video footage. They all gather in the surveillance room where the old man plays the video. In the footage, they see something moving so fast that it appears as just a blur, and everyone is visibly terrified by this mysterious creature. And the reason our hero is also feeling terrified is that he's pretty sure it's Lady Jong. He face palms himself, unsure why she's doing that, and decides to go back to the apartments to ask her himself. Well, it looks like now we know why Lady Jang was feeling tired a while ago. She was probably trying to explore this world by herself in the night to learn new things. The boy then asks the old man if the same had happened yesterday as well, to which the guard says no, noting that nothing unusual happened last night. He awkwardly laughs and decides to entertain the idea that maybe there's a ghost around. The bald guy over there and the chubby lady get curious, wondering why a ghost would be playing around in the dead of night, especially in their place. The old man decides to keep an eye out to see if there's some guy lurking around looking for a chance to steal. The boy finally gets back home and wastes no time yelling at her, asking why she snuck out in the middle of the night before. He stares at her with a mix of disappointment and concern. The girl meekly asks how he knew it was her wandering, which just infuriates the boy more. He face palms in frustration, reminding her about the CCTV cameras everywhere that caught her. The girl looks a bit scared and worried about him, so she quickly explains she was wearing a mask. Relieved, the boy sighs and figures, as long as she keeps her face hidden, they're probably safe. He tells her from now on if she wants to go out, she has to take him along. No solo trips allowed while she's staying here. He stresses how dangerous her situation is, so she can't just wander around freely. The lady timidly asks if she caused trouble for him, and he reassures her that luckily no one recognized her because everyone thought there was just a ghost haunting the place. Looks like the lady had no clue what haunting meant. Seeing her clueless face, my guy gets agitated once again and quickly tries to Google a movie about someone from ancient times who ends up in the future and gets into trouble because of their wild behavior. He wants to emphasize how dangerous her actions could be if she's not careful, and he is pretty sure what he just imagined perfectly fit the description of her character. The girl looks timid and promises to quit causing trouble if it's a bother to him. The boy then tells her to calm down and suggests ordering takeout later, asking what she'd like, whether hamburgers, chicken rolls, or anything else. The lady responds with a charming smile and thanks him for the healthy food he is ordering for her. But the boy teases her by reminding her that if she wants to eat even healthier, she could try the cat food. After their playful banter, the boy takes the laundry and puts the clothes into the washing machine. He also takes the opportunity to educate her about how the washing machine works. Upon seeing this, the girl quickly rushes to her room, retrieves her clothes, and returns to the laundry room to add them to the washing machine. While Shu-Ching is looking at the laundry, he notices something tucked inside her clothes. Curious, he pulls out the item and holds it up in the air, leaving the girl completely embarrassed. She hurriedly snatches the item back from his hand and rushes back to her room. Ju-Ching is surprised to realize that it's a foot binding, which does not make sense as how she was moving around the neighborhood with her injured feet tied up with the binding. He glances at her, recalling how her feet seemed perfectly fine when he last saw her in those shoes, so it does not make any sense for her to tie her feet with clothes. He then decides to search online to see if martial arts enthusiasts have any interest in some sort of foot binding practices. But by the looks on his face, the search results don't align with his expectations. Turning to her, he casually asks if he can take a look at her feet. She stubbornly pouts and shakes her head, clearly uncomfortable with the request. The boy asks, "Why is that?" To which the girl just gives him a silent treatment. Well, it looks like this clueless guy has finally caught on that those bindings weren't for her feet, but for her chest. It's no wonder why she didn't bother with the undergarments he brought earlier, and he thought maybe her hooters were big enough already to fit anything. His soul nearly jumps out of his body as he realizes his foolish mistake. She shoots him an angry look, sword drawn and eyes blazing, seemingly ready to chop off his head. However, she manages to take control back to her nerves and turns around, leaving this weakling utterly terrified after getting scared to death. But since she's already mad at him, he tries to lighten the mood by calling her out and singing in his terrible voice. The lyrics are all about Lady Zhang, describing her modest stature, natural beauty without makeup, and how beautiful she is from head to toe. He even sings a song about a man who loved an ugly woman but had 5 children with her. He claims that only a Giga Chad with a Sigma male mentality could do such a thing, and he desperately wants to become one of them. Despite his attempts at banter, he ends up getting yelled at by the girl once again. Afterwards, he gets back to the main business and tells her to watch some tutorials on how to wear these undergarments, and he will be back in 5 minutes, hopefully with fewer jokes this time. Exactly 5 minutes later, he returns and checks on her progress. But to his surprise, she looks utterly spooked and asks if this is how everyone lives here. With a trembling voice, she mentions that while these undergarments might seem comfortable, they make her feel like a harlot. The boy tries to reassure her that there's nothing wrong with feeling comfortable, but she persists, calling it shameless. He challenges her perspective, asking what there is to be ashamed about. After a moment of contemplation, she falls silent. He launches into a humorous tirade about how she's stuck in the past, while modern women flaunt their assets in anything they like. He even throws in a jab, saying, if a man can wear half underwear, so can a woman as well. But she sticks to her guns, immediately rejecting what she calls immoral thinking. Seeing he couldn't reason with her, the dude decided to switch gears and calm her down. He revealed that besides studying and working, computers are also great for gaming. He warned her about the toxic fan base in games like Apex Legends, and instead introduced her to a game suspiciously similar to Super Mario. After seeing it for the first time, she became engrossed in the cartoonish world of jumping plumbers. While the lady was busy beating Nipsky's speedrun record, our hero quietly slipped away, thinking it's best to keep her occupied indoors. Later on, when he returned home, he interrupted her game to teach her how to defeat the final boss. After their gaming session, he felt exhausted and decided to take a nap while she continued playing on his laptop. Once he settled into his room, he reflects on how lucky he was not to land a job on that rainy day. Otherwise, even if the interview had gone well, managing a 200-year-old ancient girl would have likely forced him to quit. As dusk casts its yellow hue across the room, our hero returns to find the lady. He suggests they eat out and tells her to dress nicely this time instead of looking like a slob. He even advises her to try a different hairstyle. She looks at her options and emerges in a new dress, blushing as she adjusts to the modern style, albeit a bit too modern for her standards. The boy blushes too, struck by her beauty, but quickly urges her to change back to her original dress to avoid drawing attention in public. This sends the girl into a fit of agitation and frustration beyond measure. As they wander outside, the old security guard jokingly asks if he's taking his girlfriend shopping again. Our hero clarifies that they're just friends, not dating. The old man then reveals he's holding on to a talisman to ward off ghosts temporarily until his mahogany arrives. When asked if he resembles the god from the New Year's festivities, Shuing gives a thumbs up and hurries along, noting it's getting late. Meanwhile, Lady Yang is already occupied with her own thoughts about something. Once they're alone, she can't contain her curiosity any longer and asks Shu-Ching what girlfriend means. He explains it's just a female friend. Perplexed, she wonders why he denied she was his girlfriend earlier. He tells her to be patient and promises he'll explain later. Shuing is pretty sure that if Lady Yang figures out the true meaning of girlfriend, she might just pack her bag and bolt away from his place. As they start walking once again, the boy suggests she watch videos about her kingdom's history, but she expresses reluctance, noting that revisiting her past is painful. As they walk, Lady Yang notices the absence of curfews, street vendors, and muddy potholes in this peaceful environment. Everything feels surreal and dreamlike to her in this prosperous world. Their stroll halts at a tea stall, where Shuking orders bubble milk, tea, and other treats, and urges her to try it. She observes curiously but hesitates to drink. Looking around, she asks if people make money this way in this world, and if she could learn to do such work. Zhuing bursts her bubble gently, explaining she can learn the skills but can't earn money without an ID card. While she sips on her tea somberly, the boy reassures her that the identity card issue will eventually be resolved, so she shouldn't lose hope. He encourages her to enjoy the tea at the moment. As she drinks, he asks if she finds it tasty, but it turns out she doesn't really like it. She mentions the taste isn't quite to her liking, and the pearls are difficult to chew. The boy readily agrees, stating he feels the same and doesn't understand how people enjoy drinking this piss-like stuff. The girl gives him a cold stare, likely not appreciating being the subject of his taste critique. He quickly reassures her that he thought girls liked sweet things, which is why he ordered it for her. While his own drink is a bit sour, he invites her to try his drink instead. She cautiously sips his drink through the straw, and as the delicious flavor hits her palate, her face lights up with joy. So the boy exchanges his drink with Lady Zhang's pearl tea and gives her a gentle smile, genuinely pleased that she enjoys it. As they continue their outing, Lady Yang starts to feel that something isn't quite right, but decides not to dwell on it, focusing instead on sipping her drink once again. After finishing their meal, the boy shamelessly burps, indicating his full stomach. He suggests taking a quick tour before heading home, and they stroll through the vibrant city in the middle of the night. Suddenly, the boy decides to stop at a bus station and suggests taking her somewhere good. Since this is her first time hopping onto the bus, he tells her not to panic and just follow him. The boy proceeds to put a coin in and enters the bus, guiding her to a window seat so she can enjoy the ride to the fullest. As the bus starts moving through the busy streets, the girl is amazed by everything she sees outside. The boy is a bit surprised that she isn't overreacting, considering it's her first bus ride. She reveals that she has ridden horse-drawn carriages many times before. Once they reach the Liang Bridge station, they exit the bus and he introduces her to this new place called Lanjiang. He eagerly and proudly tells her that in her era, this place might have been desolate, but now it's the heart of the city's nightlife. As she takes in the sight before her eyes, she wonders if this is even possible. The boy encourages her to find her own answers by studying history if she finds it hard to believe. While they stand by the river, the boy takes out his phone and doesn't waste a moment before capturing a memento. The girl happens to be looking in his direction, creating a perfect pose for a picture, and our hero captures that moment with a single click. At that moment, he also promises her a trip on a plane once her identity card issue is sorted out. The idea of soaring into the sky is completely new to her, so he reassures her once more and says that for now she can stay in his cramped little room and learn about the world. Curious as a child, she asks, "What comes after understanding the world?" The boy pauses, thinking for a moment, and explains that she'll achieve true freedom, gaining a clear sense of what's right and wrong for her, and she can fully enjoy this future world. Checking his phone, he announces that the time has come. Right on cue, fireworks burst into the sky, painting it with vibrant colors and light. She can't help but wonder if her family would be amazed by such a magnificent sight. He smiles at her and encourages her to enjoy this time here on behalf of her relatives as well. The next day arrives, and the news our hero sees is rather unpleasant to say the least because Lady Yang can be seen doing her ninja moves outside by the lightning poles. Of course, the dude's face sour at the sight, but it's also kind of reassuring. Since she played ninja at midnight, the guards have been on patrol more frequently, so there wouldn't be any real thieves around for a moment. Suddenly, Lady Yang notices people gathered outside and curiously points her finger towards them, asking what's going on. Shuqing gets creeped out as he realizes they've started to perform rituals to ward off the ghosts in the area. Shortly after, they dig back into their meals and the lady points out that Shuing's lifestyle feels like being in a prison. He chuckles and reminds her how they went shopping earlier, watched documentaries, had lunch, shed a few tears over some anime, and then had dinner. He tells her that it's called having a home and an otaku's lifestyle, but the girl does not seem to understand anything. So Shuing explains that staying at home means having the freedom to choose what to do and where to go. He compares it to an ancient landlord who spends his days in the mansion with his family and a cat. The lady then decides to go for a little walk, and Shuqing asks if she wants to go out on her own. She stays silent, which is all the confirmation he needs. So he goes on a tirade listing all the dangers and her shortcomings she has, effectively shutting down the idea and telling her to just stay here for now until she is not fully aware of the world. He tells her that even if he gave her money to eat at restaurants, she still has to figure out how to earn money. Otherwise, she'll just be on a spending spree. He reminds her that she can either commit crimes to get some quick cash or do some hunting. But since there are no hunting forests around, she'll end up going through garbage. Finally, the girl gets silent and just eats her burger, thinking that without that single ID card, she can't even go out for walks on her own. Seeing her sad face, Shuqing then puts his hand into his pocket and offers her 2 coins, reminding her that she's at least learned how to take the bus so she can experience it by herself, which will be her first step forward. But the girl refuses to take the coins, saying she hasn't learned anything. Shuqing, however, forcibly gives her the coins, telling her to spend some time outside and assuring her that she's learned a lot in the first month she's been here. Curious, the girl asks if there are really ghosts out there, so he points at the people outside doing their ghost-busting routine. He assures her that once she starts making money, she can pay him back. When she wonders aloud what happens if she doesn't earn anything, he assures her they'll figure it out. Once again, she thanks him, calling him Young Warrior. The boy then runs a game on his computer where she can play a character, explore, and learn how to make some cash. He suggests she give it a try to see if she gets the hang of it. When she asks why she can't just do what he does and work online for money, he explains it's pretty complex and she should start with the basics. Suddenly, the doorbell rings and the boy freaks out, telling her to hide in her room. But the person at the gate gets all antsy and yells at the boy to open up. When he hears that voice, Shuing gets even more jittery and hurriedly guides her into a room and locks the door before finally facing his father. There's this grumpy old man staring him down. The boy nervously says hi, but the old man adjusts his glasses and insists the boy call him landlord for now. The old man then looks around, demanding to know if his son has found a job yet. The boy, addressing his father as landlord, assures him that he will pay the rent on time and defends himself, stating that since he can afford the rent and his current lifestyle, he does not feel the need to have a job. When the old man spots some RPG game running on the computer, he gets even more annoyed and makes it clear that if his son doesn't find a job by next month, he's hiking up the rent, no questions asked. His dad scolds him that he's not had a stable job ever, and he's always playing with weird things. God forbid if a man has a hobby or OnlyFans. Shuqing gets annoyed and tells him that he's sending his money to him right now, or if the landlord just came to see if he's going to work on the National Day holiday. These millennials and boomers hate seeing Jensen's knowing their rights. So his dad gets mad at him and threatens him to find a job, or he will increase his rent. But of course, he's a man with brains. He tells him to lower the rent since the place is haunted and has a terrible environment. Annoyed, his dad begins to leave when out, all of a sudden, the OnlyFans allegations are proving themselves to be true. His dad sees women's gowns hung in the bathroom. And before he could explain, Shuqing's dad is very sure his son is soon about to become his daughter, getting back shots by some closeted Black American. As his dad waits for an explanation, Shuing knows that he'd better tell him the truth rather than being known as the gay disappointment who bends over and dresses up as a woman. Other than that, the neighbors would end up telling his dad that there's a girl living with him anyways. So he makes up a story that it's his friend's sister who has come to stay with him for a couple of days. He knocks on the door and urges Yang to step outside. She does so and he introduces her to his dad, hoping she doesn't do anything weird. Jong wonders what to call him, almost calling him dad, and the dad notices that, but she calls him uncle and bows down in respect. Shuing's dad grabs his hand and takes him outside to have the talk, though the dad assures Yang that they'll be back. Outside, the dad asks for an explanation, to which Shuing says that it's just a friend's sister who is there to spend a few days at his place. He further asks his dad to not come over and hand over the spare key so he can give it to her, although he just wanted the spare key because he doesn't want his mom or dad to find her alone. That would be way more unexpected and complicated, but his dad wonders if that's his girlfriend, and he denies straight away. But his dad ain't that dumb. After all, he was 17 once too. That's how he got Shuqing's mom to spread legs for him. The dad asks how old the girl is, and Shuqing admits she's 18. That's what 14-year-olds these days lie about too, so they can end up being baby mamas to men who don't even want them. The dad sounds unconvinced, but that annoys Shu Qing, to which he says that even if they are in love, what's there to be surprised about? Well, probably he's unable to believe that someone could love his dusty son too. Well, the dad came down to check if he can pay rent and have a job, only to find a chick in his apartment. His dad once again points out he doesn't have a job, to which he bursts that being a content creator pays off well too. Well, his dad ain't even wrong. It's high time he finds a real job being a McDonald's cashier. Being annoyed, he asks his dad what the rent and utility bill is, and then transfers it to his dad right away. He urges his dad to give the spare key because now he's properly renting out the apartment. Xing's dad tells him to pay on time every month or else he will have to pay more than others. And if he has a problem with it, he can find some other apartment. But the boy's smart. He knows whatever his dad owns will be his someday. So he continues to stay here. The economy got him excited about his dad's demise. It's really that bad. Anyhow, before he leaves, he tells him that he has to be back for dinner and looks at Zhang. Annoyed, he yells that she isn't his girlfriend, but the dad's really not a fool. Of course, being his dad, he guides him that starting a relationship that early could lead to problems, and he should also find a job. He begins to leave, but he turns back to Shuing and tells him to take all the safety measures, and Qing gets embarrassed. Suddenly, Qing stops his dad to have a look at Zhang's sandals. He asks him the value of it since it's from the Tang dynasty. Hero knows that his dad has been studying archaeology for almost half his life, and he is an expert in this field. He also elaborates that these sandals are from the time of Liangji. His dad thinks he's crazy and suggests a mental health institution to attend, which all the kids in this generation need though. His dad is about to test out his skills to have another kid. It's never too late and leaves pretty quick. The wife better be in an apron. As Shuing's dad leaves, he thinks to himself that he made a son who is nothing more than who is stuck to his computer all day long. He sigh with no hope of becoming Elon Musk overnight. He knows that these shoes are said to be from Kalyuan period, while also being from a week ago. Both statements are correct since there's a thin line between the past and present. Once it's punctured, anyone could fall through it. Anyways, the boy urges his dad to take a closer look and doesn't let him leave. His dad gets angry at the disappointment he created named Shuing and yells at him to get realistic with his life. He compares his son with his cousin who became a police officer. How? Shuing tells him that he's a freelancer while he hides Yang's shoes behind him before she thinks he's a creep. His dad doesn't get what a freelancer is, so he scolds him again, giving him daddy issues. Seems like he's about to give him a premium package of daddy issues as he takes Yang's sword to hit him. The sword hitting the hero doesn't scare him much, but knowing Yang would go crazy is what concerns him more. He begins to take it away from his dad, but Gramps definitely got a good grip. But our boy, being clever, tells him that this is definitely not an antique, but a toy, and his dad falls for it and gives him back the sword. He begins to leave while again telling him to get a job or take a civil service exam. As his dad finally leaves, Shuing looks at the sword and sees not a single mark of oxidation, which makes it look pretty recent. He notices Zhang peeking at the sword and he tells her to take it away and not take it out often. Then he wonders why she wants to call his dad. He clarifies that if she ends up seeing his mom, she's supposed to call her auntie and she listens. Then Qing asks Zhang if she wants to keep martial arts in practice. So badly, he wants to become a master in a quicker way. Someone whose stamina is so low that they bust just seeing a woman, having no way to become a master overnight. But he does know that it's useless in this era. So he brushes off the thought and takes Zhang to play the game with him. Qing thinks that he has to treat her like a child and teach her everything step by step. Kids mostly learn through toys and games, and online games are considered games too, having the same nature. Then he guides Yang how to play the game. She wonders how they make money off it, and he explains that once she learns how to play it, she can play it for others and they'll pay her. Qing explains to her in detail so she might not think that he's deceiving her. So he explains to her that this is sort of an entertainment for jobless people who have nothing else to do like a hobby, but there are still many people who don't have the time to play since not everyone has as much free time as he does, so that people like him who have more free time can play for them. Zhang still doesn't get it, asking if they don't have enough time to play, so would they hire others? That sounds absurd to her. But he elaborates that they already spent money to purchase the game, so they won't spend their time playing with an example. He knows that she's safer being an internet addict rather than coke addict. I mean, running out of the house. Shuqing doesn't want to think about the future right now, just the present for her survival. Suddenly, his fat-ass American-coated cat begins to rub itself on his feet, and he tells it to shoo off. So the cat goes and jumps on the computer table and then sits on Yang's lap, making her blush. In the police station, one of the police officers wants to order a meal together, and they ask Hao as well, but the soft boy politely declines. He sighs and says they have nothing to do today, which is boring him, suffering from success. As soon as Hao says that, all of the police officers look at him, confusing him. One of them asks if his master didn't teach him not to say that. Suddenly, the phone begins to ring, and it's a work call, and now they got to work all night long. Later on, Hao is taught to never say by the old police officer in the car, "We have nothing to do today." As soon as anyone says that, they get tons of work for the whole night. It's something metaphysical, and they don't have any explanation. Hao thinks if this is the same thing mentioned, speak of the devil. Then they both reach their destination, and they headed towards the 6th floor of building number 14. It was late at night in the residential compound, and suddenly they spotted an old alcoholic man. They ask him what he's doing there. Definitely not rehab. The old man yells, "What took them so long to reach?" Because he wants to go inside to his wife. He's smelling so strongly of alcohol, like the way a ran-through smells like a can of sardines, which makes Howell nauseous. The police officer knocks at the door, and the wife opens up. She wonders what the police are doing here since she didn't call the police on her husband. It was the husband himself who wanted to go inside since she locked him out. She apologizes to the police for inconvenience and promises to teach him a lesson. Lucky old man is about to get some spanking tonight, but it seems like the old man doesn't like the idea of getting a lesson, so he screams at her that she'll be the one getting the lesson. Would love to see what happens between them. As soon as the police see the man angry, they threaten to arrest him so they can sober him up by locking him up. The old man gets sobered up by the thought of it, and hence another case gets solved. Then as they are leaving, they get another case. The curse that Hao is putting the rest of his co-workers would have had us bawling. In the middle of the night, Ching wakes up and goes to fetch a glass of water. Suddenly, he sees Yang trying to sneak out to scare off people again, but his vision is sort of blurry. As soon as he realizes it's someone else, he screams, and Zhang was behind Ching this whole time. It was a thief who sneaked in, and he began to run away from the scene. Well, we got a little Bruce Lee from the Tang Dynasty here. Zhang slams the thief's head on the floor and begins to press it as hard as she could. Shuing quickly realizes that if she doesn't let go of his head, his skull will crack open like a coconut. He urges her to stop, and she does. Then Ching takes off the veil, and the thief has a North Korean haircut. He sits nervously and embarrassed that he got undertakered by a girl. Meanwhile, Shu Ching slaps his head, wondering what just happened. The protagonist realizes how powerful her grip must be because the thief almost got choked to death. Personally, I think that's an honorable way to die. Getting choked to death by a hot chick. There's literally a mark on his hand. Anyways, Ching goes to make a call to Hao. Since he's also a policeman, the thief begs him not to call him and spare him, and he's already gotten beaten up, so he promises to learn from his mistake. Coldly, Ching says that he deserves to be beaten up because people's hard-earned money isn't his, and he should instead find a job. Yeah, projecting his daddy issues on the thief. But the thief admits it was his first time stealing. He explains that he knew the building was haunted, so he tried to take advantage of it, but he got beaten up to death instead. Not just that, he's hella scared of Zhang. Her aura is something to be scared of. Ching asks for an apology, and the thief apologizes right away. However, Shu Ching thinks that the apology is not sincere enough, so he turns back to call the police again, and the thief begins to cry to let him go. Ching notices how scared the thief is and realizes this actually is his first time. Well, there's certainly a first time for everything. Ching, being kind, lets him go from the same way he came inside. The thief runs as quickly as an American man runs out to get the milk. As the thief runs out, Shu Ching is hoping that the neighbors didn't hear the screams of the thief, or else the gay allegations would have come true. But Young wonders why he let the thief go like that, to which he explains that they can call the police because they will hold her accountable for hitting him. Further, he says that if the police follow the process and find her suspicious, they will have to investigate her, and if they find out that she is an unregistered person, she'll be in trouble. That leaves Zhang confused, wondering why she'd be in trouble when she's not the thief. Ching explains that's because she also hit him. Suddenly, he sees and wonders why she's wearing an outfit which she's supposed to wear outside, and she answers that she heard some noise, so she got out to see what he was trying to do. Ching mocks her by saying that not everyone likes to go out in the middle of the night like her. Then he goes off to sleep, knowing he'll get someone to fix the window tomorrow. The next morning when he wakes up, he sees Yang all sweaty as she practiced all night long. God knows what kind of practice. She opens her hair and he's mesmerized and begs her to keep the door open so he can see her practice. He should have reported himself to the police for the creepiness. She agrees to it. While some women charge $5.99 monthly for it, he's surprised to see her agree with him so quickly, but she tells him that whether she agrees or not, he'll still be unhappy. That pisses him off, but he chooses not to have an argument. Then Shu Qing suggests they go out for breakfast while someone fixes the window. The night before, he thought about how it's not enough to stay at home and live without seeing anything. So he steps out to have some personal experiences too. As they walk outside, Qing guides Jung how to learn from the life all around them. She wonders how that could be, and he explains that she must abandon all her past thoughts and beliefs and start a brand new life and make new experiences. While mansplaining, Qing tells her to not be too harsh to people, like the way she was to the thief the night before. Because the way she was holding him down, it looked like she wanted to snap his neck. But she denies because she reduced the amount of force. Further, he elaborates that hurting someone in this era could bring upon trouble on them. So he guides her to not kill anyone. That leaves her confused. To what extent can she beat up someone? Well, I'd say if it's a man, better not hold back. But Qing guides that it depends on different factors. Jen follows up with a second question. If he sneaks into her room at night, how hard should she beat him up? Hopefully he's not into that. He yells that she can't just beat him up because he's not some creep. But Zhang tells him he is the spitting image of a creep. Posing, he stands and defends himself, calling himself a hero of high moral standards. She's still unsure, to which he wonders why'd she even think he'll sneak into her room. He has picked up her shoes from the trash bin, but that's literally it. But he remembers that she's called him a douchebag before. Further, he defends himself that even if he sneaks into her room, she quite literally will end him and his bloodline. Still, he's curious what she would do if he does that. A man of culture, she asks if she could punch him, but surely that's enough to send him back to his mama's womb. In a bit, they reach their destination and they sit inside while Shu Qing orders breakfast for them. He tells her to remember this day and experience life from now. She looks at her hands while thinking that this is a world where no one needs to kill anyone. A while later, their breakfast is served. Yang likes the food while Shuing smiles as he looks at her that no one here knows that she's an ancient girl, which makes him think if all ancient people eat like there's no tomorrow. So, he assures her that she could definitely have some more food if she doesn't find it enough, but she wonders if it's expensive. But he explains that breakfast is the cheapest, and she doesn't need to worry about food in this world because food is cheap here. As he chomps down on food, he thinks about how it feels like he's raising a baby. Then John gets up to order 15 more buns, almost making Shu Qing spit out his food. Seeing that, he tells the waiter that the order is to go. He asks her if she can even eat that many, and she wonders if she ordered too many, but he just guides her to not eat that much in public and tells her to pack it up and eat the rest at home to save themselves from suspicions. While Yang eats, she assures him that she'll pay him back when she earns, though she could definitely use another way to pay him back. Then he gets the check and they leave. They pass by a hot pot buffet, and the lover boy promises her to bring her to eat some buffet next time. Jen wonders what that is, and he elaborates that in buffet they can pay a little money and eat whatever they want until they are full and there are plenty of other dishes. That makes Zhang think that it's like charity, but Shuing clarifies that it's nothing more than a marketing tactic. Then he says to her that mostly people in this era work through the brain, and since they don't do anything physically much, they don't feel hungry either. So her eating like an American fatty would get eyes on her, and everyone would end up knowing who she is. Basically, the buffet thing makes the owners profit more, because people don't eat much anyways. He highlights that girls and children are prime victims of this marketing tactic, as they would pay 100 yen and only eat food worth 30 yen. In other ways, people with bigger appetites can eat more because restaurants can earn it back from people with smaller appetites, as explained by Yang. Hearing her grasp the concept, Shuing shares a story where he thought as a kid that the buffet owner was very generous to let anyone eat how much they wanted. Jen wonders why do people with smaller appetites even bother going. He answers that it's more convenient and affordable for people. Later, he thinks about how she's been learning about the world bit by bit and how she could connect all the dots and one day suddenly learn about everything. It seems like Yong no longer feels like an outcast in this era. A few days later, the lover boy gives his lover girl a phone, and she wonders if Shuing is her sugar daddy now, considering how expensive a phone could be. But anyways, gamer guys are usually broke, and he got it from a giveaway too. Well, he went to get a sub card and top up, and they gave him an Android phone, which is worth over 1,000 yen, and he decided to get it for his heroine. She's so happy and thanks the hero. Then he urges her to follow the instructions and give him a call. He feels at ease that she is a smart girl and she could learn it really soon. A realization hits him that he feels like an NPC, but it's more convenient for him that she learns quicker. Then he gets up and tells her to have dinner by herself since he won't be home. And if she feels bored, she could learn how to use the phone or watch other videos. Shu Qing thinks that, since she has learned that she can earn money through playing games, she has turned into a game addict. And it is worrying at this point. Before he leaves, Yang asks if it is really a job to manipulate the characters running around, and he replies that if she continues to play afterwards, she is working overtime. But since she is already in an internship, there won't be extra pay for overtime. Then he reminds her that she should eat, and if she needs anything, she needs to call him. He leaves to go see his parents. He hasn't visited them since Zhang came. King steps inside and sees his dad. His dad tells him his mom is out playing mahjong. Then he asks where his girlfriend is talking about Yang. Shuing gets annoyed and explains that she's just a friend who will stay with him for a while. The dad utters that he wouldn't let a man stay, but Qing defends himself that Hao has lived with him, but he's considered an exception by his dad. As the dad thinks that Howell could really be his girlfriend if he wasn't a man, Qing knows there's no winning from his dad and calls his mom instead, who is a Mei Jiang addict. They wait for her to come back home, and Shuing informs his dad that his apartment was broken into by a thief, though he fixed the window. But can he reimburse him for the cost? His dad mocks him that there isn't anything worth stealing at his place, and the only thing that is worth stealing is the computer which he sleeps with. So nobody can really steal it from him. He's committed to his computer. Can't really judge the gender of the computer. Will end up getting me canceled. His dad asks if he was hurt, but Shuing explains that the thief was beaten up and chased away. Of course, not by this weeb. Then his mother returns from mahjong and begins to cook right away. She seems happy, which makes them think that she probably won more than usual today. As she cooks, she wonders where her son's girlfriend is. And again, he protests that he doesn't have a girlfriend, and his dad is blabbering false news. His father wonders that they live and eat together. That sounds pretty much like a relationship. His mom didn't know that, and she is surprised at that news, and she urges to show her the picture of Yang, though she was trying to go and look at her by herself. But her husband stopped her because it's not considered respectable to go without telling these days. He doesn't show her picture and says that she is just his friend and nothing special, while he thinks that his mom has always been persistent. So she won't let them go until she sees it. So he ends up showing a picture of her, and she thinks how pretty Yang is. Of course, being a boomer, she starts swiping through the album and wonders why he has so many pictures of his just friend. He snatches back his phone while thinking that this is his record of observing antiques and wonders why has his mother started discussing her so much as if she is her daughter-in-law. The thing about Shuing is no matter what Jiang is doing, he always quickly takes random pictures of her. Even though they aren't officially dating yet, he definitely feels something for her, and she quite literally stays with him. Anyway, back at dinner, his mom asked him which school she goes to, but he replies that she doesn't attend school. His mom wonders why a pretty girl like Yang wouldn't go to school. He doesn't understand what being pretty has to do with going to school, because to him it's normal for someone from a poor family not to attend. His father mocks him, questioning why a girl who's good at her studies would even consider dating a loser like him, because all he does is sit at his computer all day. The only difference between him and a Discord mod would be the weight. Both parents feel bad for Yang, and their son insists that he's stable and not a freeloader. His mother then wonders how they even met and if Jiang isn't a local of Yangchang. He dodges the question again and redirects the conversation to his joblessness. Meanwhile, he reflects on how Yang hasn't even figured out how to survive in this world yet, and his parents are already trying to ship them together. Later on, after the dinner, he gets up to leave and tells them to rest. He also points out to his mom that she shouldn't play mahjong every day because his dad is practically starving like the African kids. His dad gets slightly annoyed at his mom, saying she's even more stubborn than his son's joblessness. Suddenly, she remembers something. She hears that Shuing's neighborhood is haunted and recalls the sound of a woman's cry in the middle of the night. She wonders if everything is okay. Shuing demands that his dad cut the rent in half or he'll stop renting the apartment because it's haunted. His mom agrees and says the rent should be reduced now that he has a girlfriend and more things to spend money on. His dad reminds her that Yang isn't actually his girlfriend, but the deal sounds so solid that he ends up agreeing Yang is his girlfriend anyway. Later that night, when he returns home, he sees Jiang holding her sword. He wonders if she was practicing, but she runs off to take a shower, and he's confused about why she would take her sword with her. He asks if something happened while he was gone, but she denies it. He's left wondering who exactly she feels the need to defend herself from. But then again, as long as it's not him, he figures it's fine. He sits on the sofa, and his imagination runs wild thinking about her. Of course, she probably does need protection from him, but he brushes off the thought. Then he notices his computer had been on standby the whole time and decides he'll start working tomorrow. Meanwhile, she comes out of the shower shining like Aphrodite. Looking at her, Shuing wonders if practicing martial arts makes her prettier. Back in the day, she would have been exposed to extreme temperatures, but her skin is still smooth. She reminds him that she once asked him to learn martial arts, and he refused. He yells back that he can't learn just by standing in a stance. An idea pops into his head. She could start a beauty class through martial arts practice, but that would probably flop since people these days don't even exercise to lose weight, let alone take up martial arts. Jen sits down and while trying to use the hair dryer, asks if the Taoist caught the ghost. In truth, there never was a ghost. It was just her sneaking out by mistake, and people assumed it was supernatural. She gets mad because she's a human, not a ghost. The lover boy realizes she isn't used to using a hair dryer, so he takes it from her and helps dry her hair. She hands it over and he continues the conversation, affirming that yes, she is human. But the problem is that no one in this era has ever seen a real martial artist. Someone flying across rooftops at night would easily be mistaken for a ghost. She wonders aloud why people don't practice martial arts anymore. He explains that living conditions have improved. People no longer worry about food or clothing and want to live more comfortably. Martial arts just aren't necessary anymore. People today have better options for enjoyment. He starts telling her a historical story, but she interrupts saying she doesn't know those people. He explains the story was written by Mr. Jinny Young. He concludes that martial arts is basically dead now, and people can only rely on technology to live comfortably. He tells her to put her sword down. There's no one to defend against anymore, but she screams that there is a ghost and she has to protect herself. He tries to dismiss it, but she shivers and finally admits when he was away, she actually saw a ghost herself, with terror in her eyes as if she's seen Elon Musk without a shirt on. She informs him that when he went out, she saw a ghost. He starts to sweat as he hears her words. He thinks to himself that she probably just saw an old lady taking out the trash while wearing a mask. But then she begins to describe what the ghost looks like. She says its hair is longer than hers, and she elaborates on how it looked at her. It is pale white and wears an odd blue robe with long sleeves, which unnerves him. He begins to wonder what kind of thing she actually saw. He can't help but consider if there really is a ghost, but he brushes off the thoughts by telling himself that ghosts don't exist. Science can't prove their existence. According to him, she might be having hallucinations due to stress. Janong frowns and says that in her era, ghosts are something to be feared, but the hero assures her that they don't exist, all while blow-drying her hair. She emphasizes that she saw it and admits that she's scared, that even her sword can't protect her. Though he starts to wonder if time travel is possible, then the probability of spirits existing might be real too. He tells her that he'll borrow Mr. Xiao's mahogany sword tomorrow. She thanks him and he tells her to go to bed while he wraps up the hair dryer. He decides to take a shower as well, but his shower time is shorter than usual, which makes him realize there's a big difference between living alone and living with another person. He can't help but feel creeped out too, and he can't fall asleep with that feeling lingering, so he sits down to work. Suddenly, he looks at his laptop and is shocked. On the other hand, Yang looks at the clothes the young hero bought for her. She compares them to the clothes worn by other people and finds the ones he got her to be more acceptable, which makes her feel warm. Then she takes out the clothes she was wearing when she came to this era. They have narrow shoulders, short sleeves, and rougher fabric. If she were back in her old world, Yang would probably make some changes to them. That takes her back to old memories where the chief teaches her martial arts to make her stronger. But Yang urges her to act a little more girly so someone can marry her in the future. She thinks about that, begins to cry, and resolves to practice martial arts enough to fight the ghost she saw. Suddenly, there's a knock on the door. When she opens it, it's Shu Qing with his laptop open, asking if that is the ghost she saw. She pulls out her sword, yelling that that's what scared her. It turns out it's just a horror movie playing halfway through, and that was the ghost she saw. He tells her to go back to sleep and that they'll talk about it tomorrow, but she's still really scared. So he shuts the laptop and shows her the baby girl sealed inside the laptop, assuring her that she can go to sleep peacefully. The next morning when Yang wakes up, she realizes that the ghost really doesn't appear anymore. Then she gets up to practice her martial arts and leaves the door open so he can watch her. Even though he hasn't woken up, she still continues to practice. She knows that in this era, she can only protect herself by practicing martial arts. Crawling out of his pit hole, Shuing wakes up and goes to see Zhang. She is feeding the cat while he thinks that everything is going well, and that if there's a street check, she will be able to hide her ancient personality as long as she doesn't go crazy. Not just that, she is a woman with women's privileges. If someone who time-raveled were a chief with a bearded face, or tall or muscular, the neighbors would probably report him to the police right away. While he brushes his teeth, he wonders what the chief looks like, and she explains that the chief is a little taller than him and has a beard, which makes her wonder why Zhuing doesn't have a beard, to which he replies that he's one of the literati and not a roughneck. She holds her face in shock, saying that even the literati in her world also have beards. His male ego is hurt, and he says that they use razors now, which is why he doesn't keep a beard. Then he angrily tells her that they have to go out for breakfast. She keeps her voice down while she tells him that the cell phone he gave her yesterday hasn't been working since morning. He realizes that the phone is probably not charged, and after that, they go out. As they're outside, he tells her that she doesn't need to work today because it's the weekend, and she should focus on learning how to use a phone. He explains to her the concept of Wei Chun, which she can use to make and spend money. He opens the bank app and shows her that her balance is 0, and he transfers 100 to her so she can spend it however she wants to, and she can pay him back later. It makes him think that he has never lent anyone money, and the ones who usually need to borrow money have never borrowed from him. So this is the first time in his life that he is ever lending money to someone. On the other hand, Hao reaches back home and asks his dad if there's anything to eat since he's as hungry as an African child. Later on, while he's eating, his dad wonders how many thieves he caught last night, to which he responds that they live in a peaceful time and there aren't many thieves around. Even beggars earn more than thieves now. Side hustle. His dad gets annoyed that Ching isn't even in the police yet. He caught a thief. And Hao exclaims, "When did that even happen?" His dad responds that Uncle Shu said Shu Qing's apartment was broken into and he beat the crap out of the thief and then let him go. Hao is mad and wonders why he let the thief go. What pisses him off is that he becomes a police officer just to do something good for society. But instead, Shu Qing, just by staying at home, catches a thief. His dad taunts him that the thief is already on the loose so he doesn't have to waste time asking about him. He tells him that apparently the lover boy also has a girlfriend who is living with him. Hao doesn't find that surprising because Shu Qing is conventionally attractive, and his dad gives him a death stare because his own son doesn't have a girlfriend. But Hao makes an excuse that he's not in a hurry and doesn't even have time for that. He would rather get married directly so he won't have to break up like Qing and his ex-girlfriend did. That's one more point for his dad to taunt him that his cousin already had 2 girlfriends, but he doesn't even have one yet. Hao tries to defend himself, saying that he's just trying to catch thieves right now, but still he's unsuccessful in both things. Finding a girlfriend and finding a thief. At least what he says is that he wants to find a girlfriend when he becomes a detective, but his dad knows he really can't find a girlfriend. Hao takes that as an insult, as if his dad is looking down on him, and he assures him that one day he'll bring the most beautiful girlfriend to him. When his dad hears him boasting in front of him, he picks up his sandal and gets ready to give him the Asian treatment, telling him that he has to get a girlfriend no matter what. With the rice cake in his mouth, Hao says that he can't start a family without first making a career, but his dad is not willing to understand and runs after him with his sandal. Hao wonders after getting spanked by his daddy, what did he even say wrong? Surely his dad wants more from him rather than rotting away his life alone, living with an anime pillow as his wife. As Hai gobbles down his food, he gets a call to hang out later on, but he denies as he has to be at his job. He feels sleepy after the night shift and goes to sleep while he asks his dad to wake him up at 400 p.m. Coming back to Qing, he gets a call for a party too, and he knows Hao must be busy later at night. Definitely not banging chicks. Qing and Zhang enter the apartment while he's still on the call, confirming the dinner and wondering if he could bring Zhang with him too. After the call ends, he informs her that he'll be taking her to a party tonight. He asks her not to mess around and just listen to what he says. She agrees and then questions him if he meant that all the ghosts and martial arts are fake because that's strange for her. Patiently, he explains to her that it's not strange since all the basic survival needs are met. Humans develop a spiritual need. It could be anything from pets to games or movies. He wonders if she doesn't have novels in her world, but she isn't aware. Ching gives her an example of tea houses having storytellers who tell interesting stories. What he's trying to explain is where there's demand, there'll be supply. People solve each other's problems in return for some money, and hence a workflow is created. Giving another example, he explains that when everyone is seeking solutions from others, they are also helping others solve their problems, and that's how they earn. Realization hits Zhang, and now she understands how Ching can live like a landlord without having to go outside to work. She gets the concept of it, the concept of watching movies in leisure time, and he approves of her smartness. He tossed her a can of soft drink as a reward, but she wonders why he took her in. Was it for his spiritual need? He thinks and smiles at her and says he did what he wanted to. As he continues to play with the truck of a cat, she thinks that the young hero is really just a person with a big heart. She opens the can, and the entire soft drink fizzes up and spills on her. He hands her over a tissue to clean up herself. The world would become a boring place if everything was to be done with a purpose. Later at night, as they're making their way to the party, he guides her that she can eat and drink whatever she wants except for the alcohol, and there might be a lot of people coming to the party later on. They reach the place. He tells her that it's a place for her to experience newer things. As they step inside, he makes sure to let her know she can stuff her mouth with as much food as she wants. Zhang finds the music too loud, and by her looks, she looks uncomfortable, as if her uncle touched her. As Ching enters, they all seem happy for Ching to join. His friend informs that they all were waiting for him to arrive, and he should start singing now too. But Ching takes Zhang and decides to sit for a while. Zhang observes the place with uneasiness apparent on her face. Zhang is visibly uncomfortable. Her body language is awkward. Ching urges her to have some snacks before everyone arrives and they can eat properly. Handing her over some hazelnuts, he guides her how to crush them, but she can barely hear him because of the music. He realizes he has to speak louder, so he gets nearer and teaches her how to crack open a hazelnut. Then he wonders if she has had these before, but she hasn't. When she eats it, she finds them incredibly delicious, to which he apprises her to eat more. He isn't worried about how she cracks up the shell, because in a place crowded like that, no one would probably notice. And even if they do, they would probably only think how strong she is. Then he laughs and cheers while passing on a drink to his friend Zijun. He begins to party with them and drinks beer. Seeing him drink beer, Zhang wants to try it too, and he denies that a girl should know how to protect herself, and she's out. But she urges that she has had alcohol before, and she won't get drunk. He definitely has double standards because she just wants to have a taste, but he's not letting her. So after she insists a lot, he lets her have one of which brightens up her face. As she drinks it, he wonders if she likes the taste of it, and she ends up disapproving of the taste. On the other hand, his friend Zijun thinks that they are doing something fishy and stops them, but Ching tells him to mind his own business. Jun hops over to him and questions whether Zhang is his girlfriend, to which he denies that they're just friends. Ching turns to Zhang and introduces his friend to her as a real nouveau riche. However, this friend of the young hero doesn't have good intentions with her, but Ching stops him. Zijun wonders if he's not good enough, to which Ching doesn't even deny that, but what Jun brings to the table is his money. Anyhow, he walks away while Ching wonders when they're going to eat because he's really hungry. Zijun tells him to hold his horses because some people have yet to arrive. As he goes over to party again, he talks about how being on duty and how it's so life-sucking. Ching gets angry knowing that Hao is doing a great job. On the other hand, the party's going on, which is making Yang uncomfortable, and she wonders why are there so many people around here. He knows that there is a need to help her integrate into modern society, and this is a way for her to experience new things. Ching urges her to take this as a form of celebration because it's his friend's girlfriend's birthday. After that, he asks her to break some hazelnuts for him, and she does so, and he thanks the heroine. He wonders if she can sing, but she has never tried singing before, though he's a little controlling and says he wouldn't even let her sing, and he'll show his singing skills sometime later. Suddenly, he sees a guy with a white outfit come too, and he catches his attention, leaving him wondering what he's doing here. The guy and Ching look at each other, and the guy coldly passes by him. King gets busy on his phone again when suddenly he hears the constant sound of nuts cracking, only to find out that Zhang has eaten all the nuts out of hunger. He wonders if she's hungry, and she admits to it. So he assures her that in a little while there will be a super-sized cake. Her mouth waters, just thinking about it. She comes to think of it, she hasn't had any bad experiences with food over here. The worst food she had was the half-eaten bun and the hamburger when she first arrived. They were a little hard and tasteless, but even those were better than the pancakes in the Guarel. Zijun gets Ching's attention and urges him to sing since Hao isn't here, and he agrees to sing just one song. He takes the mic from Zijun, and Zhang, out of curiosity, leans over to see what that is. Suddenly, hearing her own voice being extremely loud, she gets scared. Ching tells her to relax and explains that it's a microphone. Well, now at least she'll be prepared for the speakers she'll be hearing the broadcast from. He looks over at her face. She looks extremely adorable, and he wants to pinch her cheek, but brushes off the thought, knowing that someday he will try it. Then he begins to sing with his friend. Zigjun looks around and sees that everyone is here, so they're about to get things started. And then the cake arrives. He holds the microphone and says that it's his girlfriend's birthday, only to suddenly realize that his girlfriend is missing. Someone informs him that she went out earlier. Ching smirks, joking that his girlfriend isn't even around, and he was about to cut the cake because he thought the girlfriend was the girl who was singing with him earlier. Jun looks around and finds her nowhere, so they just decide to keep on partying. Ching wonders if that's his new girlfriend, but Jun says they've been together for over a month and she is his true love. Zhang listens to them and questions the hero, asking if girlfriend means wife. He explains that girlfriend is just a term of endearment. While Jun looks at her, wondering how she doesn't know what a girlfriend is, Ching mocks Jun, giving an example that his girlfriend would one day be someone else's future wife, and to some extent, his friend agrees. Zhang then wonders who Ching's wife is, giving him a deadly look. He explains that he's an otaku, and for him a girlfriend can be everything, which makes his friend laugh. Although Jun wonders if the two of them are really just friends, Ching quickly changes the topic, saying they haven't talked like this in such a long time and that they should have a few more drinks, mainly because he has to hide the fact that he was just explaining the concept of a girlfriend to an ancient person. Suddenly, Zun looks at his watch and realizes how late it is, so he goes off to find his girlfriend. Ching and Zhang sit down, and suddenly Ching hears a voice he was expecting, asking him if Zhang is his girlfriend. He tells him to mind his own business. It's the same guy who's curious to know how Ching finds so many beautiful girlfriends all the time, hoping to learn something from him, but Ching shuts him down, saying he's too ugly for that. It seems like Ching and his rival are standing face to face while he actively harasses him to have a drink with him. Ching stops Lang from being weird because he doesn't want to talk to him. Suddenly, Jun enters the room again and is scared to see that the two of them are standing face to face. He begins to panic because they had been roommates for a few years and now they are enemies. This is the reason why Jun called Liang over, but it seems like the situation is completely messed up. So Zun stands between them and tells them to talk nicely and not to fight. Turning to Ling, Zun wonders why he had to provoke Ching, to which he says that he was just trying to have a drink because it's been a long time and they haven't caught up at all. Ching looks at Jun and questions if he invited him over, to which Zun panics and says he thought they could talk about it. Smirking, Ching says that he never considered this to be that big of a deal, to which Ling agrees, adding that he never thought of it as a big deal because the past is the past. Ling admits that he was just asking for advice and trying to have a toast with him, to which Ching says that he just despises him for his weird tone. Ling had been waiting for the right moment and then gets reminded that he wasn't beaten up hard enough the last time, and everyone starts to gossip that they are about to fight. Zijun has no idea that it even happened and wonders why they both have to act like children. So he tries to make Ling calm down so they can celebrate his girlfriend's birthday. But it seems like Ling really wants to have a toast with Ching, yet he denies him again. Ling now wants to have a toast with his girlfriend, talking about Zhang. Angry, Ching says she doesn't drink and advises Zhang not to talk to Liang since he's a bad guy. Finally, Jun takes Liang away to put an end to the fight. He returns and sits with Ching, questioning when they even fought. Ching admits that if he had known Lang would be here today, he would not have come. Xian clarifies that if he had known these two were on bad terms, he wouldn't have invited him over in the first place. Zhang wonders why Liang called her Ching's girlfriend, to which he explains that Liang is ugly, and that's why he thinks they are dating. Both of them, Zhang and Q and Ching, are pretty, so brainless people automatically assume they're dating. Hearing the term brainless, Zun yells because at first they also thought Zhang and Ching were dating. She wonders why anyone would think a handsome guy and a pretty girl are dating. She isn't even wrong. These baddies end up with guys who look like only their mothers would find them attractive. Then Ching advises her not to talk to anyone, including Jun, to which Jun screams that he already has a girlfriend. Finally, Jun's girlfriend returns, and he happily goes to the waiter because it's time to cut the cake. As the cake is revealed, Zhang is mesmerized by the size of it and wonders if it is all edible. Ching admits that it is edible, yet he finds the situation a bit weird and off. Ching takes Zhang and hides her under the table beside the sofa, guiding her to keep hiding until he gets back. promising her a huge slice of cake. She waits for him as he leaves and wonders what the cake will taste like. She's curious whether eating cake while hiding is some sort of rule. She waits excitedly. Meanwhile, at the party, everyone is smashing cake on each other and enjoying it, and she feels a little terrified. Surely I'd be terrified too. It looks like a Diddy party. Suddenly he returns with the cake. He sits down beside her and tells her he knew June only got that humongous cake for smashing. So he took a slice before they started, just for her to try. A man giving princess treatment in this era was rather unexpected. Still, her eyes look really sad. She takes a bite of the cake, and when he asks if she likes it, all she can think about is how much Yang would love the taste, but she could barely eat something sweet for long. Feeling sad, she wonders why they have to toss around something so delicious. Ching hears her and promises he will get her a better cake, and they'll eat it together without wasting any. She thinks about it deeply. Is this the era people dream of, where they get their clothes dirty and waste food and be happy about it? When everyone is done playing, Ching gets up and assures her that no one will be playing anymore, so she can come out now. He goes to the bathroom, and afterward he tells her they'll be leaving soon. She stays there waiting for her hero to come back when Liang approaches her, covered in cake, asking her to be friends with a nasty look on his face. She angrily replies that she doesn't want to engage in any conversation with him, but he's stubborn. Seeing her clean clothes, he realizes she didn't participate in the fun. So he tries to smear cream on her from the cake, and she exclaims, backing away. As she defends herself, about to knock him out, Ching returns and punches Liang in the gut for even daring to get close to Zhang. That makes Liang furious, and he punches Ching, who falls onto the table. Hearing the commotion, Zun enters the room, panicking as he sees Ching and Liang fighting. Ching and Liang are beating each other up as if they'd get a reward for it. The crowd begins to pull them apart, but they are unsuccessful. Suddenly, a hand grabs Ching out of the feud with Hercules kind of power. It was no one other than Zhang. Everyone who witnessed that just thinks how incredibly strong she is. On the other hand, Jun regrets putting them together, and Ching laughs that Lang ruined a good party and he should beat him up a little as well. Jun yells that he'd rather punch him. Then Jun calls off the party and begins sending everyone back home. After everyone is gone, Ching once again begins to trigger Liang to fight him, though Jun seems concerned for Ching as his face is totally swollen. He brushes it off, saying that he's okay, and turns back to his rival to fight him again. He talks about having the guts to touch his girlfriend's face, so now they can solve it if he has any other issue, hinting that he is going to beat Liang up. Suddenly, there is a knock at the door, and Zun tries to send them away by saying that they're busy, but it turns out it was the police who got the report of a fight happening here, along with another officer. It was Hao. Hao feels a little nervous knowing them too well. As the police officer steps inside, they see Lang on the floor while Ching clearly shows the signs of being beaten up. Zijun tries to explain that there is a misunderstanding and there wasn't a fight. Lang and Ching only fell while singing. On the other hand, Zun makes sure to tell Hao that he looks super smashed in the uniform. Getting back to the police officer, he asks Ching about the situation, and he lies that they just fell while being drunk. The police officer asks him for his ID number, but Ching doesn't have his card. The police officer confirms once again if they didn't fight at all, and Ching tries to assure him that there wasn't a fight. They were just messing around. But Liang decides to back off from the plan that he hit him, and they did fight indeed. Hao asks if they really fought or not to, which Ching admits that they did fight. Nervously, Zun still tries to cover up the situation by saying that they're drunk, but the police officer shuts him up, saying that they all are going to the police station to settle it. Ching asks Zun to help him send his sister back home, and he will go to the station. He was only talking about Zhang, which leaves Zun confused whether she is his girlfriend or his sister. The police officer wants all of them to go there, as they all are the witnesses of the situation. That really sounds like bad news for Ching and Zhang. Ching urges that it's not necessary to take her because she has to complete her schoolwork, but the police officer shuts him up, asking why a high school student would even come to a place like that. Jun thinks that Ching is usually smart, but suddenly he sounds like he's spitting nonsense. When he volunteers himself to go instead of her, the police officer angrily says that all of them will be going. They all look at Hao, and he slips off, saying that he can't do anything because he's just a rookie right now. He explains that his cousin just moved out of the village. She hasn't been to a place like that, and she'll be scared. Hao is sure that they're just going to be asked some questions, and that's it. Meanwhile, he wonders if the officer thinks this girl is Ching's girlfriend, as he heard from his father. On the way to the station, Hao asks Ching how he suddenly has a cousin, because that would make Hao her brother. Hao inquires about her name, but Ching says that she is in high school, doesn't have an ID card yet, and is just here to stay with him for a few days. Hao looks at her and introduces himself as her brother. Meanwhile, Jun complains that Hao didn't come to the party when he invited him, but now he's here after everything is already done. As they reach the station, Ching feels a little nervous and wonders if this is what people call a guilty conscience. However, Jang is preparing herself for the questions she's about to be asked. She cheers herself up, and seeing her motivation, Ching becomes a little less nervous because they would eventually have to face these problems. So now they're just becoming familiar with it. Ching and Liang sit together in a room with the police, and Ching begins telling the story of how the fight emerged. Liang knows he won't get any benefit out of it, but makes sure not to let Ching get out of the situation easily. So he starts to play the victim, saying he was just trying to make a harmless joke when he suddenly got punched in the guts. The police officer asks what kind of joke it was and says he needs to know every detail, urging Ching to go first, but Liang snatches that chance away from him and begins ranting. On the other hand, Ching is worried about Zhang being interrogated in the other room because it's still too early for her to deal with situations in a modern way. After Liang is done telling his story, Ching emphasizes that he left out one important detail. Liang started insulting Ching first. He adds that it was his rival who provoked him in the first place, to which Liang defends himself by saying it was just a joke, but the police officer doesn't fall for it, so he gets straight to the point. How are they going to solve this? Liang wants Ching to be detained and arrested for the incident, but the police officer says it was mutual combat. If one person falls for it, the other can't get away either. It's not like Ling got beaten up too badly. There's just a red mark, and that's it. All they can offer is going through a medical examination and then considering detention and compensation accordingly. Ching smirks, knowing that either they can shake hands, both get detained, or go through a medical examination. Liang really thought he could have gotten Ching arrested after getting beaten up. The police officer tells them that Ching will be fined 500 and detained for 8 days, and Liang will be fined 200 and detained for 5 days. Or they can simply choose to reconcile or go for a medical examination. Liang's plan really went down the drain. The officer notices the injuries and mentions they'll take time to heal. Since it's getting late, he offers to drop them home, but Ching hesitates, unsure if the officer should leave his post during duty hours. He points out that nothing usually happens this late. Still, the officer warns Ching to watch his words, hinting that there are strange forces moving quietly through the night, ones that shouldn't be taken lightly. Moreover, the officer still insists on giving them a ride, though Ching prefers to take a cab and asks where his cousin is, to which the officer replies that they're waiting outside. He also mentions that he had asked his cousin to wait inside, but she didn't want to. While heading out, the officer remarks that his cousin Yang seems a bit slow, but Ching quickly defends her, saying she's actually smart. As the night calms down, Ching decides to go home and reminds the officer that they can meet again later. It's getting close to 1 a.m. and Liang has already left, but Ching is still not done, and Zijun and Zhang are waiting outside in the cold. After some time, Ching comes out of the police station and wonders why they didn't wait inside. Shun explains that staying in made him too sleepy. Besides, the night has clearly been exhausting. Jun sigh, calling the whole day a mess. Despite the trouble, Ching jokes that if he gets another chance, he'd give Liang another beating. Suddenly, Ching remembers and asks about Jun's girlfriend, the one he's been dating for a month, to which Jun explains that she couldn't stay awake and went back to the car to sleep. Zijun offers them a ride home, but Ching declines, saying they'll just take a cab since it's already so late. As they get ready to part ways, Ching quietly reflects that with others always around, it's hard to talk to Zhang about the things that really matter. The night grows colder. Jun comments on how chilly it gets this time of year, and jokes that in a moment like this, Ching should be offering his jacket to Zhang. But Ching doesn't react, and Zhang, standing calmly, mentions that she isn't cold at all. Her response carries the weight of someone used to much worse. While Ching looks like a delicate modern guy, Zhang comes across as someone much stronger, almost like someone from another time. Moving forward, there's a moment of silence when Jun tries to figure out the connection between Ching and Zhang, but the answer isn't clear. It leaves more questions than it solves because she doesn't quite seem like a cousin or a girlfriend, and the lack of clarity makes their relationship even harder to place. Eventually, they reach home, and the tiredness from the night begins to settle in. King watches as Zhang walks ahead with quiet steps. So light it's hard to hear her at all. Despite the long, messy evening, Ching starts to realize he might have been the only one who actually enjoyed the chaos. Now walking home slightly drunk and in the dark, the feeling of excitement begins to fade into a strange kind of loneliness. As they walk, Ching asks Zhang to walk beside him instead of behind, joking that it feels like a sidekick is following him, to which Zhang agrees, reminding him that she never saw herself that way. Once they reach home, Ching collapses on the sofa, feeling drained after the long day. But he's curious about her police questioning. He thinks back and learns that Yang only gave simple answers, mentioning a cousin and a birthday, and stayed silent on the rest. After hearing all of this, Ching admires how well Zhang handled it, realizing her clueless act was just smart thinking. In the end, Zhang feels that the police aren't as scary as they seem. After that, Ching reflects on how the day turned out and feels that despite everything, they handled the situation well. Also, Ching didn't lose anything from the fight and even managed to bring Zhang out for a bit of fun. Indeed, Zhang also got a first-hand look at a police station. Other than getting home late, Ching considers it a good day, especially since Zhang reacted well under pressure. Later, Ching teases Zhang a bit about being too obedient, but she calmly reminds Ching that she only follows him because she believes he's a good person. Additionally, Zhang admits she's been relying on Ching because she doesn't fully understand the world yet. Also, Zhang trusts Ching because he's been kind, giving her food, shelter, and support. Moreover, Zhang believes that if she couldn't trust Ching after all that, she might as well be wandering the streets to Zhang. Ching is the only one who has truly helped since she arrived. After the serious conversations, they also joke about the fight earlier, agreeing that if Liang had actually touched Zhang's face, the outcome would have been much worse. Following that, Ching wonders if their fight seems childish from an outside view, to which Zhang, unimpressed, doesn't even consider it a real fight. Janung asked our boy why he had hit that guy. Xuan replied that the man had deserved it and that punches were meant for people like him. He explained to Zhang Ha that if someone ever annoyed her that she couldn't hold back. She can't use her full strength, just enough to make the person feel some pain without actually injuring them. Otherwise, she could end up in jail. He went on to explain that there were many kinds of people in the world. Some wished to wear bougie things but couldn't afford them. The hero told Zhang Hai that such people might give her a nasty look if they saw her wearing these things, but they would only act this way toward people they were familiar with, especially those who were out of their league. Shuing said that these people found it natural for others to be wealthier or more capable, but they couldn't stand seeing someone they actually knew doing better than them. Zhang Hu asked if that really happened. Our guy replied that he looked down on people who behaved that way and on bootlickers in general. Jen Hu asked what a bootlicker was. Our boy explained that it was a very common type of person and jokingly someone who deserved to die. He reassured her that she would understand in due time. John Hu didn't understand much of what he said. Seeing her confused expression, Shu King suggested she take a shower. Noting that it was late, Zhanga agreed and left. Our hero sighed, leaning against the sofa. Realizing that having someone to chat with at home felt surprisingly good, he wondered briefly and awkwardly if they could cuddle to sleep once she was done, but immediately realized how weird the thought was. When Yang Hu returned from the shower holding a blow dryer, Shuing stood and told her she could dry her hair herself today as he was going to shower. As he entered the washroom, he sighed, realizing he had been standing a little too close to her earlier. After a shower, Shu Qing returned to see Zhang Hu holding the blow dryer. She mentioned that many girls had short hair and asked if it was normal for people to cut their hair here. Our hero explained that hairstyle was a personal choice. Even going bald was fine if she wanted. He asked if she wanted to cut her hair. Jenga said she wanted to trim it a little. Our boy advised against cutting it, saying that long hair was beautiful. He took the blow dryer from her and declared that he would dry her hair from now on, asking her not to consider cutting it short just for convenience. Zhanga nodded, then asked if it was normal for guys to help girls blow dry their hair. Shuing smirked and reassured her that it was very normal. After some time, the hero placed the blow dryer on the table and said they were done. He began leaving, reminding Zhang Hu to go to bed early. He turned off the light and wished her good night. Zhang replied and typed good night into her phone, playing a song and following along with the lyrics. The next morning, Shu Qing walked over to Zhang Ho and greeted her with a cheerful good morning. She replied in kind. Our boy admitted he had woken up a little late and asked if she wanted to go out for breakfast. She declined, saying she was at work. Our guy smiled and said he would buy breakfast for them both. As he prepared to leave, tying his shoelaces, Shuing realized that living with Young Hu for so long had subtly influenced his life, giving it more routine. Meanwhile, Yang Ha searched online about girlfriends and began reading the Wikipedia page on the topic. Yang Hu continued reading the Wikipedia page on girlfriend. Afterwards, her curiosity led her to search whether ghosts existed in this world. Shu Hing returned home and urged Yang Hu to take her breakfast. She replied that she was busy working. Shu Hing insisted, telling her that she could take short breaks even while working. Janga said she would eat later, but our boy showed her the food he had brought, light, easy-to-digest buns and soybean milk. Janga picked up a bun and mentioned that she had been playing the game for a while. She asked if she could help other players level up. According to our boy, a mining expedition earned her 18 yuan, enough for 6 buns. Zheng Ho realized that a day of mining expeditions would provide enough for 3 days' worth of food. Our boy checked his phone and promised to find a request for her later, reassuring her that she could try it if she was able. He knew gaming was primarily meant to keep Zhang Ha occupied, preventing her from wandering outside late at night and startling people. Zhang Hu exclaimed in excitement that she really wanted to help others level. Shuing smiled, thinking that once she was more familiar with the modern world, he could give her something more practical to do. Zhang Ho remarked that the food was really tasty. Shu Hing reminded her that it wasn't her first time eating it, but Zhang He insisted it was delicious, adding that the cake from yesterday had been amazing as well. The hero chuckled and asked when her birthday was, offering to get her a huge cake to enjoy by herself. Zhang admitted she didn't know. Our hero smiled and suggested that they could celebrate the day she came to live with him as her birthday. Yuhu, excited, asked if she could eat cake on that day next year. Shu Qing, looking at her happy face, said she could even eat some cake today as a belated celebration and promised to buy one for her later. Zhang thanked him joyfully but then hesitated, worried that cake might be expensive. Shu King chuckled, assuring her it wasn't, and told her to relax and wait to enjoy it. Later, our boy asked if Zhangyi had brought any copper coins from her time since her era primarily used copper over silver. He explained that if she had some, they could potentially sell them for money. Youngha said she didn't have any copper coins. They were usually managed by the second miss. She did, however, have some broken silver pieces sewn into her shirt hems for emergencies. Youngha realized there was no one now to discreetly place money into her clothes. Our boy sighed, thinking that hiding a few copper coins wouldn't be of much use, and if there were too many, she would have used a proper money bag. Looking out the window, he reflected that no one would have guessed that a simple trip outside could lead them here. Meanwhile, Hyozi was riding his motorbike and greeted an elderly lady along the way. He reached home and parked outside, feeling a strong sense of fulfillment from protecting ordinary citizens. Inside, he noticed a puppy and asked his father whose dog it was. Chin replied that it was Wang's dog's son and instructed Hyozi to train it as a police dog. Hyozi groaned, protesting that he didn't even know how to train dogs. The two argued for some time. Eventually, Howie asked for the dog's name. Chin hadn't decided yet, but wanted a name that exuded strength and power. Hyozi sighed in annoyance and then asked if Shuing had a female cousin. Haz's father doubts that he might be interested in the female cousin of Shu King. Hyozi's mind drifts to how close his and Qing family is. Even when they were born, their marriage was fixed. But when it turned out they both were males, the marriage was called off. He explains to his dad that the girl Qing's cousin he met yesterday was pretty but kind of odd. Hearing him call a girl pretty, Hyozi's father assures him to talk to Qing's father about the girl and his son. Though Hai isn't interested in her yet, he found something suspicious about her. It seemed to him that she wasn't able to understand anything. And the way our boy acted at the KTV, it wouldn't be okay to call it weird, but seemed a little deliberate. On the other hand, outside his apartment, our boy greets Uncle Zhao playfully, asking if he saw any ghosts lately. But Uncle Zhao didn't get the sarcasm and is really satisfied with the exorcist who came earlier, and according to him and the people of the building, made that spirit leave. Hearing this, the hero laughs nervously, thinking that when this old lad retires in the future, he will definitely have tons of rumored stories for his grandchildren, and those will definitely go viral if made into a book. As the hero and Yang, who stroll down the street, he playfully teases Zhang Hai, reminding her of how scared the old man was. Jen frowns, assuring not to do that stunt again, and is upset that they think of her as his girlfriend. Seeing her upset, he assures her that he has clarified to everyone that she is not his girlfriend, but it is on them to assume whatever they want and to change her mood. He decides to take her for drinking some kumquat lemon. Even though he changed the subject, still Zhang, his mind races with thoughts. She doesn't understand why people assume they are in a relationship. They slept in different rooms, never crossing any boundaries. Though she knows they ate together and he helped her with a few things, it doesn't mean they can assume stuff. She tries to ignore all this by reminding herself that as long as her conscience is clear, everything is okay. While Ching buys them milkshakes out of curiosity, Young-hoo questions our boy about what girlfriends do so that she will avoid them. Taking a long pause, our boy explains to her all the signs of what girlfriends do, and it is similar to what they do all the time. This freaks her out. Noticing her uneasiness, our guy assures her that with her, there is an exception as the situation is different for them. It doesn't really give her that much assurance, but she tries to forget it. While they are drinking milkshakes, Chung picks up the cake from the nearby shop he ordered. As soon as she sees the cake, she realizes that the debt is increasing for her. So, she offers to let her help him in whatever way he wants. This makes the hero grin, and he decides to tease her, claiming that the problem he is facing is a lack of a girlfriend. So if she helps him with that, it would be great. Hearing this, Jong-hoo starts to think about it, which makes Ching smile. He wonders if she will agree to be his girlfriend, but he knows one thing: he will never make a move on her. Instantly, Jong-ho freaks out, declaring that she will never help him to kidnap a lady. At that moment, he's stunned by the realization of just how naive she is and how far beyond her his thoughts are drifting. Shuing admires Jong for her willingness and open-mindedness to listen to everything he has to say. However, when they witness a couple kissing in public, Yang questions whether it is even appropriate to do such a thing so openly. Our boy's a lonely buddy, hence he finds it indecent as well, but then references Lee Shaman asking, weren't the people in her era open-minded? To this, Jang replies that she had heard a little about him. While talking to Jang, our boy thinks about his father, who had dedicated his entire life to historical research. He worries that if Yang's information doesn't match the historical records, it would mean that all his father's work was of no use. Our boy wants to inquire more if she has seen anything like that before, but she wasn't bothered much by what the emperor did in his life. Shushing agrees with her answer, thinking that historical records often show powerful people like emperors and officials engaged in questionable behaviors, and she may not have been aware of it. Our boy then imagines the tales of conquering the world with a sword, feasting on meat and wine, just a part of his vivid imagination. He exclaims that he wants to know about Zhang's life, which sounds fascinating to him. Jen pauses for a moment, recalling a gory scene, and responds that our boy wouldn't love to hear it all. Shu King insists, saying he would love to hear it as a story tale. Later, our boy opens up a cake box and shows Zhang the birthday candles. He explains that he didn't know her exact age, so he asks the shop assistant for candles for an 18-year-old. Zhang is surprised and is told she can place the candles wherever she wants on the cake. Shuing also tells her that he's going to turn off the lights, which Zhang questions. Our boy explains that it's part of the birthday celebration. After switching off the lights, our guy excitedly praises Zhang, calling her the birthday star of the night warrior, and tells her to close her eyes and wish for her heart's deepest desire, then blow out the candles in one breath. He tells her that since it's her first birthday in this era, whatever she wishes will surely come true. Zhang closes her eyes and takes a long time wishing, which makes Shu Qing impatient. He asks if she's done so, she can blow out the candles. Yang finds the entire ceremony weird. The hero explains that this is a Western tradition, and with time, it will get normal for her. Zhang then wants to use her phone to take a picture of the birthday cake as a memory. Su Qing helps her take the pictures and tells her that once she's done, she can cut the cake. Since Zhang is new to all this, he politely helps and guides her in cutting the cake. Jen wants Juking to have the first slice of cake, but he tells her she can have the entire cake. Yang gets excited, and upon being asked by the hero whether she didn't like the cake, she takes a bite and happily tells him that it's delicious. Our boy shares that he had the same reaction when he first tasted cream as a child, but he's not fond of it anymore. Perhaps because he's had tastier food since then. Later, Shu Qing proposes a toast with Zhang using cola, thinking to himself that while it might be just another day for him, she is lucky to be here. He wants to commemorate their meeting, acknowledging that life is short and moments like these matter. Yong-hoo and Shuing sat in the living room as Yong started sharing her past. She remembered that in the 4th year of Caillou, a swarm of locusts had devastated the region, but Lord Tao succeeded in wiping them out and prevented a greater calamity. After the disaster passed, the second miss fled into the wild and later arrived in Gu. The second miss believed she was living in a golden age and regarded Lord Tao as a saintly figure. She even set up an altar at home where she prayed for his long life. She also formed the habit of eating only half as much as others, no matter if the city was thriving or struggling. Although the city's leader considered her foolish, she would simply laugh and say the remaining half of her meal was offered for her savior's long life in this golden era. Shuing felt confused and asked how her family, who practiced martial arts, could keep an altar wishing for the longevity of a government official. Since stories often portrayed martial artists and officials as enemies, Zhang explained that without Lord Tao, the second miss would never have escaped Lu safely, and many more lives might have been lost. In the second M's eyes, every additional day she lived was a gift granted because of Lord Tao. Shu Qing then wondered whether Zhang truly came from the Caillou era and questioned what she would call the Dark Ages if her time was considered a golden one. Zhang explained that her era had suffered through droughts, floods, wars, and numerous other disasters. If there were no human-caused calamities, people would already regard it as a golden age. So the second miss believed their time was especially remarkable. Curious, Shuing searched for Caillou online and concluded that the era could be viewed as both prosperous and troubled. He felt fortunate to have been born in a time of plenty and realized how lucky he was compared to living in Yen's world. He told her not to dwell on it too much and simply enjoy her cake. Janang thanked him and asked if she could eat the remaining cake from the previous day. Holding a birthday card, she quietly admired the modern world. Food could be wasted just for amusement. People could dress boldly, and couples could even act affectionately in public. Thinking about the second miss, she came to understand that compared to her own time, this era truly deserved to be called a golden age. A few days later, while Shuing was working on his computer, he noticed Zhang peering shilly from behind the door. He soon realized she had run out of sanitary pads, but was too embarrassed to ask. Without hesitation, our boy ordered a box online. He told her he would transfer money to her later and would also teach her how to order whatever she needed in the future so she wouldn't feel awkward about it. Janang blushed when Shuing spoke so openly about the matter and asked whether it was normal in this era to discuss such private topics. Our boy assured her that nowadays people could talk about these things openly since there was nothing to hide. Zhang Ha handed Shu Qing 100 yuan, but he noticed the reluctant sadness on her face as she parted with the money. Realizing she needed something to occupy her time, our boy asked if she knew how to cook. Zhang admitted that she could only prepare porridge and reheat leftovers. Our boy said he would teach her, believing that a practical skill like cooking would benefit her for the rest of her life. In his mind, learning something useful mattered far more than her martial arts skills, which had little value in modern society. Smiling to himself, the hero reassured his conscience that he wasn't exploiting her. He was simply helping Yang discover abilities that could truly help her. Compared to earning money from video games at home, cooking was a real practical skill that held value in any era. Yang's eyes sparkled with excitement when she asked if she could really learn. Our boy agreed and brought her into the kitchen to show her how to make stir-fried potatoes. Since he rarely used the kitchen himself, the first step was cleaning it up. Our boy then left to buy ingredients while Zhang stayed behind to tidy everything. She cleaned thoroughly, feeling excited about the chance to learn how to cook tasty meals. When Shuing returned from shopping, tired from carrying the groceries, Zhang pointed at the round ingredients and asked what they were. Our guy explained that they were potatoes, a crop known for its high yield. He said potatoes could be eaten as a vegetable or as a main source of carbohydrates, and they were extremely inexpensive. Laughing, he joked that if the Tang dynasty had potatoes, famines might have been avoided and life would have been much easier. They carried the groceries into the kitchen together. Shuing told Zhang to wash the dirt off the potatoes and then peel them with a potato peeler. He added that once she learned to cook, she could also handle the dishes, and he would even pay her 5 yen for each meal she prepared. Zhang quickly declined, saying it didn't feel right to receive money when she was already staying with our boy and would be eating the food herself. Shuqing insisted she treat it like a small tip and reminded her that homemade meals were healthier than takeout. He was confident that with her discipline as a warrior, Zhang would quickly learn how to cook well. Still adapting to modern life, Zhang found the idea of regularly eating meals at home somewhat unusual. Shuqing then showed her a photo demonstrating how to slice the peeled potatoes into thin strips. At that moment, our hero received a call from his friend Hyozi. Before answering, he told Zhang to finish cutting the potatoes and soak them in a bowl of water until he came back. When he picked up the phone, Hyozi said he was finally free and wanted to go out for skewers to celebrate. Shuing declined politely, explaining that he already had food prepared at home and suggesting they meet another time. Ha was surprised to hear that Shu Qing had actually cooked. Confused by the reaction, our boy asked why it was so shocking and added that he didn't have enough ingredients to share even if Hyozi came over. After ending the call, he made sure his friend wouldn't drop by since he preferred that Hoi and Zhang didn't meet unless it was absolutely necessary. Meanwhile, Zhang sat with her phone searching online to find out whether it was normal for a man and woman living together as roommates to cook meals together at home. Shuing was showing Yang Ho the different seasonings in the kitchen. He told her to carefully observe the amount he used and memorize it well. Yang, however, wasn't fully paying attention. Instead, she kept looking at our boy while thinking about something she had read online earlier, that cooking together can bring two people closer and may even lead to starting a family. Seeing that she seemed distracted, our hero asked if she had remembered the measurements, warning her not to add too much, joking that too much MSG might turn her into a fool. Slightly irritated, Jung said she remembered everything. The hero asked why she was behaving oddly. Zhang first said her conscience was clear, then quickly changed her answer and simply commented that the food smelled wonderful. Once the dish was finished, Zhang was amazed by the rich aroma. Our boy handed her a bowl of rice. During the 2 months they had lived together, this was the first time they had actually cooked a meal side by side. When Yang tasted the stir-fried potatoes, she was captivated by the flavor. Curious, she asked whether potatoes were grown in the soil. Our hero jokingly answered that, of course they came from the ground and didn't appear out of nowhere. He then showed her a steamed potato and said it was one of his favorites. In his enthusiasm, he accidentally grabbed a hot one before realizing it, then passed another to Zhang. He explained that it was understandable she had never seen potatoes before since they originally came from the West. Teasing her, he said that if she ever returned to her own era, sailed southeast and claimed some land, she could become famous enough to be recorded in history books. Janang, however, spoke more seriously. She said she was thinking about finding land in this era, settling down, planting vegetables, and cooking her own meals. Shuing thought that was unrealistic, explaining that farming alone wasn't a dependable way to survive in modern society. To him, people from her time seemed overly attached to land as a means of stability, but times had changed. Still determined, Jung said she could work hard, save money, and eventually start her own farm. She planned to cultivate crops, wait 3 or 4 years for harvests, and repay our guy for everything he had done for her. Shu Qing cut her off, saying that what she needed first was to learn how to live in the modern world, and he told her not to focus on farming for now. Jen's expression immediately dimmed, so our boy quickly reassured her, saying she could treat his home like her own, and that he would look after her. Hearing that made Yang blush. The hero quickly clarified that he only meant he would take care of her openly, just like he did with the cat, and that anything else was a matter for the future. Janang firmly replied that he didn't need to joke about such things. She felt grateful to him for letting her stay there, and said she would find another way to repay him, but certainly not by offering herself. Our boy was stunned, wondering how such outrageous thoughts had entered her mind. Jen added that she couldn't truly regard Shuing's home as her permanent residence and would only remain there temporarily. Since neither of them had anything to hide, Shuing agreed, feeling that the matter cleared their consciences. He reminded her that he had never made any personal promises and asked whether she thought he was a bad person. Jen answered that he was a good man. Smiling, our hero told her to call him Young Master, joking that he wasn't actually such a good person. Later that night, Zhang browsed through Shuking's social media using his account and stumbled upon some old photos of him. She asked if the person in the pictures was really Shu Qing. He initially denied it, but Zhang kept pressing until he finally admitted the photos were from his flashy younger days. Our boy flushed with embarrassment. He had hidden those pictures in a private folder, so he wouldn't be reminded of that past, but somehow Zhang had managed to find them anyway. Zhang asked Shu Qing if he had ever had long hair. Shu Qing replied that his long hair had been for his funeral love phase, something Zhang likely wouldn't understand. He explained that he and his friends had been trendsetters back then. Our boy thought to himself that if he hadn't looked like a bum in the past, his father wouldn't nag him every other day like he did now. Paying rent for a home owned by his family still made no sense to him. Our boy then helped Zhang create her own social media account where she could post and store pictures as long as nothing went wrong. He helped her set a password using her name in English and created an internet handle, Fly Dancer, reflecting her martial arts background. Shuing also joined her in online gaming communities and showed her how to use them. Exhausted, he collapsed on the couch and noticed a friend request notification for Yang. He wondered if she would become an internet addict at this rate, but he decided it was far better than her ending up as a miner or a vigilante. After just 2 months, the boy realized he had grown used to having Yang around. He also saw that she was adapting to modern life, slowly becoming a city girl. In her own time, she had been just a grain of sand, but in this era, she was becoming a brick, solid, and capable, which made our guy happy to help her. Later, Yang got up to take a shower. Our boy told her he had bought a high-absorbent towel so she could dry her hair easily. While in the bathroom, Zhang reflected on how Shuing had been right. In this era, many things existed for enjoyment, not for mere survival, as in her own time. After 2 months, she could feel how much she had changed since arriving. When Yang came out of the shower, Shuing offered to blow dry her hair before taking his own shower. He thought that helping her would prevent her from getting annoyed and cutting her hair short impulsively. Yang suggested that Shuing could consider growing his hair long, too, as long as he didn't dye it red, so she could return the favor by blow-drying his hair. Our boy was happy with his current hairstyle and told her that helping her was no trouble at all. Blow-drying was a daily task at hair salons. He even added that he would take her to get a haircut so she could look her best, making Yang smile in gratitude. Janang wondered if the roles were reversed if Shuing had come to her time, whether he would have survived without modern skills with her protecting him instead. She thought it would have been a piece of cake. She hoped Shuing would never have to experience her era, as things were already good for them in the present. The next day, Shuing took pictures of Yang dressed in winter clothes. Realizing that she was becoming a dress-up darling, he wondered whether her martial arts could help her tolerate the cold. Jang confidently replied that she would manage better than the hero. The hero teased her, saying her toes would freeze in her straw shoes, which made Yang scowl in anger. Later, Shuing left the house, telling Yang to cook for herself since he would be eating out. As he walked out, he thought about how it was already late November and he still hadn't paid his rent. He considered transferring the money to his father, but decided it would be better to visit in person. Since his father had lowered the rent, Shuing wanted to prevent any misunderstandings. He didn't want his parents arriving unannounced and assuming there was a romantic relationship between him and Yang. Shu King sends his mother a message before going to visit her. When he arrives, she immediately asks if he has come alone. Our boy casually asks who else he could have brought. His mother looks around and asks where his girlfriend is. He replies that he left Yang at home. His mother asks why he did not bring her along. Our boy tells her not to glare at him. Zhang is only his girlfriend, so there is no need to bring her every time. Besides, he jokes that his father would probably complain again about him freeloading off them. His mother then wonders how he and Yang ended up living together and suspiciously asks if he picked her up off the street. Shuing explains that Yang came to the city alone to search for work and does not know anyone in this unfamiliar place. At first, he treats her like a younger sister, but gradually their relationship changes. When asked where Zhang is from, our boy says she comes from the mountains. He tells his mother that when he first meets her, her shoes are torn, and she even refuses to accept a new pair. Her clothes are full of patches, and she is often hungry. His mother finds it difficult to believe and assumes he is exaggerating, since Yang does not seem as miserable as he describes. Shu Sing insists that Zhang is not like other carefree girls who have everything provided for them. She has supported her family since she was young. In truth, he prepares these stories beforehand to mislead his mother. The topic then turns to their future since they are living together. The hero becomes nervous and quickly explains that nothing inappropriate is happening. Yang sleeps in the storage room instead of sharing his bed. His mother still warns them to be cautious. Shuku King replies that Zhang is only staying there temporarily. His mother tells him to bring Zhang along next time and advises that if they are not compatible, they should separate early. Our hero jokes that if they do get along, maybe his father will stop charging him rent. She then asks whether he has found a job yet, and Xing admits that he is still looking. When his father returns home at 7 o'clock, the first thing he asks is whether his son has brought the rent. Our hero smirks and says he only came for dinner. His mother calls everyone to wash their hands. During the meal, Shu Qing keeps thinking about what Zhang might be doing at home, which makes his father notice that he is behaving oddly. Later, while helping his mother wash the dishes, the boy sees that she is growing ginger sprouts. When he reaches for one, she lightly slaps his hand away. After he says he wants to plant one himself, she finally lets him take a single sprout. He plans to give it to Yang, knowing she will enjoy taking care of it. As he prepares to leave, his mother tells him to go home since it is getting late. Our guy hesitates for a moment, then admits with a red face that he thinks he has fallen in love. On the way back, he keeps turning the thought over in his mind. He truly has fallen for Zhang, a girl who comes from 1,000 years in the past. Shuking enters the house and asks Zhang what she is doing. She panics a bit, but explains that she is about to play some games. Instead, our guy hands her a small plant. Yang studies it curiously, confused. Our hero explains that it is a sprouting ginger plant. He tells her she can keep it in her room or place it in the kitchen. After a moment of consideration, Yang decides to put it in the kitchen. Shuing then asks if she still wants to play games, but Yang feels tired and plans to go to bed instead. He reminds her to stay warm in the cold weather, assuring her that the weather will get better in a couple of weeks. Before Yang leaves, our boy calls her over and asks her to sit beside him. After hesitating for a moment, he asks if he can hold her hand. Jen refuses right away. Our boy says he only wants to check whether her hands are cold. She still declines, but he gently reaches out and briefly takes her hand anyway. As he holds it, he studies it carefully, which makes Yang feel a little uneasy. When she asks what he is doing, he casually says he is curious whether martial arts training makes a person's hands rough or unattractive, adding that he is thinking of learning martial arts himself. In reality, he is already considering buying her hand warmers for the cold weather. Feeling embarrassed under his scrutiny, Zhang quickly escapes to take a shower. As soon as she disappears, Shuqing rushes to the computer to check what she had been doing earlier, suspicious about her strange behavior. Looking through the browser history, he discovers a series of unusual searches that leave him puzzled about what she has been thinking. When Yang returns from the shower, our boy offers to help blow dry her hair again. She notices the strange expression in his eyes and asks why he has been acting oddly all evening. While plugging in the hairdryer, our boy suddenly begins lecturing her. He explains that search engines are not always reliable because they are created and managed by people, and people can make mistakes. He also warns her that some individuals online are scammers, so she should not believe everything she reads on the internet. Jen watches him suspiciously and asks why he suddenly feels the need to say this. Shuing awkwardly answers that it simply crossed his mind and insists it has nothing to do with anything she might have searched. Later that night, lying in bed, our boy reflects that at the rate Yang is adapting, she will soon fit seamlessly into modern society. Thinking about it makes him analyze everything about her, until he finally decides he needs to find a way to officially make Yang his girlfriend. The next morning, Yang is brushing her teeth while Shu Chu-ching stands nearby, staring at her. His constant gaze starts to irritate her, yet the longer he watches her, the more perfect she appears to him. Unable to keep it to himself any longer, our guy casually asks if she would like to visit his parents' house sometime when she is free. Shushing remembers how his father visited the previous month and questioned why he and Yang were living together. Thinking back to that suspicion, the hero now asks Yang to pretend to be his girlfriend and accompany him to a meal with his parents, hoping it will stop them from meddling in his life. When she hears the word girlfriend, Zhang looks confused and asks whether that means they would have to sleep together. The hero quickly reassures her that she does not need to do anything like that. She only has to join him for the meal. Then jokingly, he adds that he would not mind if she wanted to share a bed. Jung rejects the idea immediately. After some thought, she agrees to act as his girlfriend. Delighted, Shuing suggests they should rehearse beforehand. Janang frowns, not understanding why practice is necessary if they are simply going out to eat. Caught off guard, our boy hastily changes the subject and offers to take her to an all-you-can-eat buffet for lunch. The promise of unlimited food instantly sparks Jung's excitement. While they are outside, the hero asks if she feels cold. Jung says her clothes are warm enough. Our boy jokes that if she returned to her own era wearing that coat, she might as well stuff some potatoes into her pockets too. Yang seriously asked whether she could earn enough money to buy a computer and bring it back with her. Our boy explains that a computer would only be useful if she first downloaded a huge amount of information onto it, and even then, it would make her seem odd in her time. Potatoes, he concludes, would be much more useful. Zhang decides that after tasting them, she will learn how to grow them herself. On the way, Shuing notices Auntie Chong struggling to carry a large bag of rice. He asks why she is handling such a heavy load and wonders where Uncle Wong is. Auntie Chong explains that Uncle Wong has been dealing with high blood pressure and asks Shuing to help carry the rice if he has time. Our boy agrees immediately and asks Zhang to help lift the sack onto his shoulder. He casually adds that he is just about to take his girlfriend Zhang out for a meal and that it is lucky she happened to meet them. Auntie Chong brightens when she hears Shuqing openly call Zhang his girlfriend, though she realizes she does not even know Zhang's name, despite seeing her around. Shuqing introduces her simply as Zhang. Zhang like ginger sprout. Auntie Chong laughs and comments that the name suits her gentle nature. After setting the rice down at her door, he remarks that Auntie Chong must have met Zhang before. However, she cannot remember such a meeting and calls for her husband to open the door. Thinking quickly, Shuqing tries to plant a memory, saying they actually met 4 or 5 years ago when Zhang had a rounder face. Auntie Chong chuckles and blames her fading memory on age, inviting them inside for a drink. Our boy politely refuses, explaining they are heading out for lunch. As they walk away, John questions why he told so many lies. Our boy explains that if she wants to live independently in this world, rather than relying completely on him, she needs to become part of people's memories. Because her real past is different from everyone else's, He intentionally tells Auntie Chang, who is known as the neighborhood gossip, knowing she will quickly spread the story that Zhang is his girlfriend. In that way, Zhang will gradually gain a place in people's awareness. From then on, Shuing introduces Zhang as his girlfriend to everyone they pass. He even tries to take her hand, but fails because she keeps her hands tucked inside her sleeves. He explains that he is only doing it so others will notice her more easily. Understanding his reasoning, Yang offers him the sleeve of her coat to hold instead. Shuing smiles and says it is unnecessary when no one is around. As they continue walking, the hero realizes that if he truly wants Zhang to become his girlfriend for real, the journey ahead will be long and it will take a great deal of effort. Shuking takes Zhang out for hot pot, hoping for a quiet evening. As they chat on the way, he suddenly freezes. Hyozi is standing ahead laughing with a group of friends. Our boy instinctively wants to turn around and avoid him, but it's too late. Hyozi has already spotted them. With narrowed eyes, Hyozi asks what Shu Qing is doing there, clearly suspecting he's up to something. Our boy casually replies that they're just going to eat hot pot and even invites Hyozi to join them. Hyozi declines, saying he's working, but his attention shifts to Zhang, recognizing her as the high school cousin Shuing once mentioned. Howie begins firing math questions at her, leaving Yang visibly confused. Before things spiral further, our hero cuts in and boldly announces that Yang isn't his cousin. She's his girlfriend. That only deepens Hyo's suspicion. If Zhang is his girlfriend, why did Shuing introduce her as his cousin before? Something is definitely off. Smirking, Shuing mockingly calls Hyozi Sherlock Holmes and admits there is a story behind it, but he'll explain another day because he's starving. If Hyozi insists on interrogating him now, our hero jokes that he's ready to be arrested on the spot. Hyozi finally lets them go, but not without a warning. The hero had better come clean later, or Hyozi will tell his father about his drinking and gambling habits. Shuing brushes it off and tells Zhang to ignore him. The two head into the restaurant, leaving Hyozi fuming. Inside, Zhang grows uneasy. She wonders if she shouldn't have come out at all. Our boy gently asks if she would rather stay cooped up at home all day. He explains that she can't learn about the modern world unless she experiences it herself. When Zhang nervously points out the police officers nearby, Shu Qing reassures her. As long as she doesn't reveal her true identity, no one will arrest her. And even if the police question her, she can simply say she's a wanderer. They'd probably help her find her family. Zhang hesitates, saying that's not what Shuing told her before. He smiles awkwardly and replies that times have changed. Soon the food arrives. Zhang thanks him shilly for the treat, making Shuing blush. He asks her to take off her hat and jacket so she can eat comfortably. Curious, he asks whether people in her era had hot pot. Zhang says she's never tried hot pot specifically, though they had similar communal meals. Our boy recalls a poem about such gatherings and recites it while adding more meat to her bowl. Zhang's eyes sparkle with gratitude as she tastes the food. Mesmerized by her expression and her beauty, Shuing barely touches his own meal. Zhang notices and asks why he isn't eating. He laughs and claims he's already full. Instead, he peels shrimp for her, explaining that friends should help each other. Janang thoughtfully notes this as another modern rule. Eventually, Zhang is full. Our boy suggests they walk home so she can digest the food. He carefully helps her put her hat back on, and together they step outside. As they stroll down the road, Shu Qing points out the surroundings, enjoying the quiet moment by her side. While walking down the road, Shuing asks Jianhu if she knows how to walk on water. He tells her that there was once a monk who could float across water using a single reed leaf. Jungho replies that she doesn't know how to do that and comments that modern people are strange. Shuing then points at a stone and asks if she can split it in half with her bare hands. Jung sigh, questioning how human flesh could possibly be stronger than rock. A moment later, our boy grabs her hand and leads her toward a nearby tree. Pointing at it, he asks if she can break it. Genha clenches her fist and punches the tree, even after receiving a warning that the attempt is dangerous. The tree snaps. Both of them stare at it in shock before he suddenly shouts that this counts as destruction of public property. He quickly grabs Zhang He's hand and starts running. Annoyed, Zhang He reminds him that he was the one who told her to do it. After a moment, she asks him to let go of her hand. Shu Hing releases her and walks a few steps ahead. Sighing, he tells her they are going home and that they will play some games. When they arrive home, the hero sits on the sofa to relax. Zhang Ha calls out to him and asks what romance means. His eyes widen instantly, and he jumps to his feet. Walking over to her, he looks at the computer screen. Zhang Ha shows him the message she received, and the hero reads it carefully. He tells Zhang Hai to start preparing dinner and says he will handle the matter. After she leaves, Shu Qing sits at the computer and adds the person who messaged her to his revenge hit list. He whistles to himself, thinking that he hasn't even made his move yet, and someone is already thinking about Yang Hai. Soon after, someone knocks on the door. The hero opens it and sees his father, Shu Wenbin. He immediately asks if it is rent day already. Shunbin walks inside and explains that he was on his way home from work and decided to check whether the heater was functioning properly. As the landlord, he says it is his responsibility to fix any issues. However, Shu and Bin freezes when he notices Zhang He standing there. She politely greets him. Adjusting his glasses, he silently wonders what is going on, as this was not how he imagined things. On his way over, he had planned to lecture our boy and whip him into shape. Looking around, Shunbin notices that the house is spotless. Everything is neatly arranged. He remembers that the last time he visited, the place looked like a pigsty. He can't understand how it changed so drastically. He greets Zhang Ho properly and repeats that he only came to check the heater. Shuing sighs and assures him that it is working perfectly fine. After a brief pause, Zhu Wenbin says he should leave before his wife starts nagging him. Before exiting, he invites Young Hu to visit sometime. Once Shu Wenbin leaves, Zhang He tells Shu Qing that she is going back to cooking. Our boy watches her with a soft smile as she continues preparing dinner. Jung Ho and Shuing begin to eat, and our boy asks if she has thought about the future. Zhang Ho replies that she imagines the future will be just like this. Our boy chuckles and reassures her that it's perfectly fine if things stay this way. Jung Ho tells Shuing that she won't trouble him constantly and adds that, since they are unrelated, she feels extremely blessed to receive so much help from him. She recalls that the second miss once said, "No one owes anyone anything, and those who help do so out of kindness, they shouldn't be taken advantage of." Hearing this, our bro says that they could become related since both are unmarried, and meeting each other is fate. Zhang Ho shakes her head. She reminds him that he is her benefactor, and that she cannot treat him otherwise. She insists that she needs to repay everything she owes him. Shuing imagines a moment where Zhang Hu offers herself to repay him. He quickly responds that he wishes for both of them to willingly be in a relationship. He yells at her, saying this is how it should have developed. He asks if offering herself in marriage is considered a way to repay a benefactor. Jung Ho firmly denies it. She says the second miss taught her that all debts should be repaid, and offering oneself for marriage is the most shameless way of all. It only makes the person dependent on the other. Shuing imagines the second miss cutting the red thread that connects his and Yang's love. He grits his teeth, struggling to control his anger. He asks her not to treat him as her benefactor, but she insists that he is, and there is no need to pity her. Zhanga declares that she will work hard to earn her own living and not rely on anyone. Zhuing sigh, realizing that Zhang Ho's view of him as her benefactor is the biggest obstacle in his attempt to make her his girlfriend. He watches her play games on the computer. Based on the power leveling rates in the game, he knows it will take her years to earn enough to repay him. He considers whether he should force her, but then remembers that she could break his neck as easily as she broke the tree. Thinking practically, Shuing sends his cat into Zhang's lap, realizing that besides adjusting to modern life, she must learn to support herself. Otherwise, she will always feel insecure and never truly belong in this era. At the beginning of December, Shuqing sits in a restaurant with his friends. Hezi demands that our boy tell them where his girlfriend came from. Our hero explains that Zhangyi has no relatives nearby. Feeling pity for her, he brought her home to be his girlfriend. Another friend protests that this isn't normal procedure, but the hero argues that a couple can be together as long as both are willing. Hyozi presses him, asking why Shuqing had previously said Zhang Hu was his cousin. The hero, wearing a helpless expression, explains that he was helping her hide her identity. He recounts that Zhang Hu was homeless, doing odd jobs, and had nowhere to live. If he didn't help her, she might have been sent to a shelter, and he would still have to look after her afterward. Hai, feeling pity, agrees to believe him for now. Shuqing smiles and shoulder bumps Hosey, asking him to help John Ho with the ID issue they discussed earlier. Hai gets annoyed, and another friend shouts at them to stop fooling around. Our bro continues teasing Hyosi, and all three cheer with their drinks. After some time, Hosey leaves, explaining that he has work tomorrow. Shuqing and another friend see him off, thanking him for his hard work as a police officer. Our bro then sits in another car with a friend, asking if any of his family shops have job openings that don't require an identity card. His friend tells him that if it's for his girlfriend, she just needs to give them a heads up. Shuqing admits it would be difficult since her only verifiable history is being homeless, and having a legitimate background would help. His friend suggests jobs even a 16-year-old could do, noting that it would be ideal for her. Our boy asks if it's possible to make it appear as though John Hu has been working at one of his family's shops for the past 2 years. His friend nods and reassures him that he will figure out a way to make it happen. Later, Shuqing announces his arrival as he steps inside the home. Janong informs her that she's already eaten and left his food in the kitchen. He crashes down on the couch lazily while teasing his cat when Zhang smells the alcohol from his mouth, interrogating him about the smell of alcohol. When she accuses him of visiting a brothel as well, he jumps out of shock. After he sniffs his coat, he asks her how she reached such a conclusion. So she explains that it is due to the scent coming off of him. Out of confusion, he once again smells his coat, and this time, he can also smell the floral scents coming off his coat, which makes him think that they must have gotten onto him due to sitting in the car of the playboy of all time, Zun. Shuqing quickly defends himself, claiming he's a model citizen, and tells her that brothel and prostitution are against the law, so they are almost out of existence. Therefore, she doesn't need to worry about him wandering off or selling her off to someone else. When Zhang gets surprised at the number of laws and ordinances in this world, Shuqing enlightens her about their importance by giving the example of selling off body parts in the name of legal transactions if it weren't for these laws. Shuqing cautions Zhang about not being too defenseless, since even in the peaceful times, darkness still lurks around. His words throw her into deep imaginings of him selling away her body parts, and he notices it. Our bro tries to change the topic by reminding him how essential it is for her to have at least a little level of wariness, but Zhang is too lost in her scary imaginations to listen to Shuqing. The hero decides to leave her alone with her thoughts and checks the food left for him in the kitchen. He eats it happily despite not being hungry, and after washing the dishes and changing his clothes, he slumps back onto the couch. He looks over at Yang, who is working on the computer, and finds her so adorable that he wants to hug her. Shuqing asks Yang what she thinks about his father, while sadly telling her how demanding and emotionally unavailable his father has always been. When he mentions how jealous it makes him feel to see people having good relations with their dads, Yang turns to look at him. He very cleverly finally reaches the point of what he initiated the conversation for and cries about his father never hugging him when that's all he craved his whole life. Calling it an absurd request, he asks her for a hug, and it makes Yang confused about the situation. Noticing Yang's expression, he brushes it off, but it makes her feel bad, so she hugs him. He squeezes her body quickly into a tight hug, catching her off guard. At first, she tries to resist him and pull herself out of the suffocating hug, but slowly calms down and holds onto his shirt. She tries to relax by reminding herself that it is just for the sake of the young master's experience, and her conscience is clear. On the other hand, our bro is enjoying the scent of her hair while holding himself back from hugging her tighter. After she asks him if he is done with the hug, he pulls back while thanking her and gets up to take a shower, leaving her worried about him not being as relaxed as he looks. Yang's practicing martial arts with a sword in the morning, while our bro is secretly recording a video of her. She stops immediately when she notices him, and he also stops the recording before asking her about the significance of martial arts. She answers that it works out quite well for her and flaunts her strength. After scrolling through some articles on his phone, Shuqing gets to know the importance of martial arts and gets down on his knees, asking her to teach him too, since it would be sad if such an important tradition disappeared over time. When he enthusiastically announces to practice it wholeheartedly to excel his skills, he gets into a random position and asks her if his stance is correct, and she affirms even though it was nowhere near correct. As expected of him, just after 10 minutes, Shuqing was on the ground panting for breath on all fours. Jen realizes how unskillful he is and pushes him to keep going instead of sitting like that. When she tries to make him understand the role of practice in martial arts in order to become a top-rate martial artist, he extends his hand forward, gesturing to her to stop since his goals have altered now after he has seen what martial arts takes. When he expresses his wish of having a strong body, she tries to motivate him to push himself to the end so that once he is able to maintain that stance for an hour, she promises to teach him some techniques. Then Shuqing excitedly asks if he would get to practice his skills in the snow once he has mastered them, which makes Yang confused about such an absurd wish of his. As soon as the first snowfall of Yongcheng's winter hits the ground, our bro starts his journey of learning martial arts. One day when they're outside, Yang looks quite happy and excited to be out in the snow, which makes him notice how relaxed she has finally gotten as compared to the first time she arrived here. She skids through the snowy and slippery ground like a kid, so he leads her to their ride. While they're sitting on the back seat of the car, Yang notices how calm and relaxed the driver is inside the car, and all he has to do is to turn the steering wheel while staying oblivious of the cold outside. Interested in the driving job, she whispers to Shu Qing about her thought of becoming a driver. Our boy is quick to dismiss her thought, saying he can't teach all the necessary things to her alone, and he can't allow her to get into road accidents voluntarily. Listening to him, she realizes that our boy knows how to drive and asks his reason for not driving one, to which he simply mentions his poverty. They arrive outside Shu Cheng's parents' house, and while assuring her to stay calm, he reminds her of the lie about coming here from the mountains of Yachen in search of a job, which she needs to tell his parents later. Suddenly, the hero notices his Uncle Chin and calls him out while telling Yang to quickly grab his hand. After she reminds herself again about her conscience being clear about holding his hand, she holds his hand. Uncle Chin notices them, and our bro quickly introduces Zhang to him, while Zhang plays with Uncle Chin's newly found puppy. Uncle Chin asks Shuing to teach Hyozi some dating tricks as well, but he says Hyozi suits arranged dates the best. While they walk to Shu Qing parents' home, he teaches her small tips on their way. He tells her how normal holding hands is, so she doesn't need to feel awkward about it, even if there's nobody. She seemed a bit perplexed over his claim, so he shifted the topic to satisfying his mother's questions. In his tips on how not to give unclear answers, he first tells her to figure out what his mother wants to hear so she can say so to make her answer sound genuine. Secondly, if she is asked about her routine, she should lie about being busy with her own things rather than mention her addiction to games. However, she gets a bit confused about what exactly it means, and he sums it up by telling her to stay in the role of his girlfriend. They enter the house, and after Shu Qing introduces the two to each other, his mother tells them to take a seat while they wait for food to be ready. Her mother secretly finds Yang beautiful, whereas the hero takes her inside and helps her take off her jacket and hat. His father comes out of his room and looks at the two of them curiously through his spectacles. So, Shuing introduces Yang to him, reminding him how he has already met him before. His father didn't look pleased to see them together and annoyedly asked the hero why he was looking so happy. After putting forward Yang as his reason for happiness, he internally laughs at his father not being able to recognize a person from ancient times, despite him being a historical researcher. Ju King tells Zhang to relax and peels an orange for her. As soon as he hands her the orange, he suddenly realizes how he has forgotten to bring something home, since it is the first time he is here with his girlfriend. However, his father rudely tells him that they already have everything, so he does not need to bring over anything. His mother calls them for food, so he guides Yang to the washroom and goes ahead to help out his mother. When the table is set, Yang comes out of the washroom hesitantly, so his mother warmly welcomes her to the table, telling her to drop her shyness. She happily runs to the table and gets herself seated while Shuing's mother serves her food. When Yang looks at the food and rice on the table, she is surprised by the variety since she has been thinking it was going to be a simple lunch. Yang shares the tasty food his mother has cooked while his mother adores how good they look together. His father's eye on the other side twitches with annoyance at the sight of seeing them happy together. After a while, Shuing's mother's adoration and his father's annoyance both turn into extreme shock as they watch Zhang munches down a second bowl of rice, which both of them combined haven't eaten.